All right, welcome to Domainer Week Day 9 and the final episode session of the Domain Social. I'm your host, Arif Mirza, which I probably didn't say about at least four of the days this week, so I have to remind myself to do that. And I'm going to change my lovely background over here. And so today is a very special, the final day of the Domain Social and final day of Domainer Week. I have a special guest today who we will be joining in just a few minutes, Monte Cahn, who, yeah, again, I feel silly all week with all the introductions because, I've been very honored to have been sharing the stage with a lot of super legends in this industry. I don't even say legends. Monty has been in this business for a very long time, selling a lot of ultra premium domains, and we'll get to that in a second. I'm just going to start off with a little bit of preamble, saying thank you everybody for a really super fantastic, memorable week full of all kinds of chaos and excitement and fun. It was a real challenge putting all this together. But I really appreciate all the support, all those of you who sent me questions for the panelists ahead of time and helped me with suggestions on what to do and just sharing the tweets and all these little things really add up, and I appreciate it. All your support coming in the Zoom rooms. I know for a lot of people the Zoom was a little bit of a challenge because I just made it so easy to listen on Clubhouse and on YouTube. I know the first days of YouTube now are the hundreds of views, and and then Clubhouse sometimes it was nice to scroll down and see lots of names there. So on Zoom it's always fun to have everybody here where we can see each other in person. So for today it's gonna be a little bit different. Today I have the one-on-one with Monty, and then we're gonna probably go on for maybe 40 minutes or so, and that'll be followed by the final Domain Social, and that will be the final one. So I always say we're gonna be like 5 hours, but we always go much later. Today, I told myself we're gonna be at least 9 hours. So from the start of today, so probably 10 o'clock p.m., I'll probably start to fade a little bit. But yeah, so anyways, for going forward, all these videos from all this week, you can go to live.domainerweek.com. That'll forward to the YouTube channel. And all those videos are there for you to enjoy. I have no intention of really taking them down anytime soon. So, go there, watch, rewatch. There's a lot of great information there. Same thing with the schedule. The schedule for Domainer Week is domainerweek.com, that lovely spreadsheet I put together that all of you seem to enjoy, all the colorful squares and all that stuff. That'll be there, and that'll have links. You look at the top of each day, there's a direct link to the video for each day. Also at the top, there's a link for the charities, right? So all this week was a labor of love. It's the end of the social. I really wanted to put something together special. It was not intended to be what it was. It was meant intended to be between the final two socials, maybe three panels of a few fellow domainers, and then I sent out the emails, and slowly but surely it grew into this spectacular week with a lineup of truly pioneers and leaders and just awesome fellow domain investors that I look at this spreadsheet of the schedule I made. I'm just so humbled by the people that have joined in this really wonderful week. So before I get too emotional, especially in the last Domain Social, we've been doing this for a year and a half. Again, I'm just gonna say you can go to Domainer Week, and again, one of those top boxes, as I said, it's a labor of love. But if you've gained anything from this week, if you've felt like you've gotten any value, the first thing I would say is, if you're planning to be a long-term domainer, domain investor, join the ICA. Internetcommerce.org. We had that special session with them on Wednesday, and then that dream team panel, Zach, Stephen, and John Berryhill. That was so much fun on Wednesday. But yeah, join them. But otherwise, go to domainerweek.com. Look at the top of that page. I set up a GoFundMe page for those charities that I will split between those. But again, fighting cancer, third world education, water school is one of them as well, which a link to Names Con. They started that basically for water school, the ICA, and obviously our friend Thomas, who is slowly but surely recovering from a very, very serious bout COVID. You can actually, I put the link for his own GoFundMe there as well. So again, if you want to contribute to the global fund, that's fine. I'll split it up at the end. Otherwise, please do feel free to check out the links there. And if you felt you've gotten something from this week, please do that. The easy link, again, Beauty of Domains, donate.domainweek.com. So on that note, I do have a very special guest for us here on this very final day of Domainer Week and the final session of the Domain Social, none other than Monte Cahn, who is, I'll just give a brief overview before letting him give you the longer one. He's a real leader in this industry, and he's been at it for a long time. He's pioneered the premier auction sort of platform for domains in history. I mean, domains haven't been along that long, and he got into the game shortly thereafter. And these auctions are really spectacular when you see domains going for 6-7 figures into the 7 figures. It's exciting to see, and even more importantly for those of us on the other side is that we see these auctions. He actually goes out and tries to get end users to really elevate the prices. And the great thing about that is that there's a public auction. So by default, for us as domain investors, we can use these sales as comparables, right? When domains make headlines that such and such domain sold for however million dollars, that helps us escalate and propel the value of domains when we try to sell our domains, even if it's for like $2,000. If our potential buyers saw an article saying that there's one that sold for 5 million, well, then all of a sudden asking 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever you're asking, it's more realistic because there's price points that we can connect to. So on that note, Monte, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being here today. I'll let you give a little bit of a longer version of what it is you've been up to, especially for those new to the industry, those listening on Clubhouse, and those new to domains, who shamefully and regrettably do not know of everything you've done so far for this industry. So welcome, Monte.
Thank you so much, Arif, and great job this week. I know that you're probably exhausted, probably like I am already preparing for an auction. So when you're at it constantly, but what you did this week is great for the industry and very educational and very good for everybody to get on board and learn a lot more about domain names. So hats off to you, and contribute a lot of benefit to the industry. So it's a great thing. So
thanks.
So as you mentioned, I got started in the industry very early on. I was originally in the medical business. I went to school for that, and while I was selling high-end medical equipment and capital equipment, one of my clients who used to run the pharmacy at Florida Hospital, which is a big multi-hospital chain in Orlando, his son wrote a thesis paper, in college about how domain names were like real estate. And so they wanted me to read it. We were friends. And as soon as I read that paper, it just kind of clicked for me. And I started investing in domain names in 1994 and 1995. Wow. So this, of course, is way before Google and Yahoo and any kind of advertising. We had Prodigy and CompuServe, and Netscape was the browser. And there weren't even banner ads back then. So it was a pure raw real estate play at the time. I looked at it as very early virtual real estate, which now I say I relate to digital real estate. So it's the same thing. And so I just saw the raw land value, just like somebody would look at a blank piece of property on a beach or in a downtown area and say, wow, that property's gonna be worth something someday, especially if you build something on it. So that was my mentality at the time when I invested in domain names. And back then the pricing structures were a lot different. You had to register names for 2 years. A domain name cost $70 through one provider, which was Network Solutions at the time. And you had to register for 2 years. So after several thousand domain names, there was a big nut to pay for renewals. And so the next thing, being a business person I am, is how are we going to pay for this? How do we get an ROI on this when the internet's just starting? No one really knows what these are, but obviously people are starting to navigate through the World Wide Web. And I will remind everybody, back then we were on baud modems. We didn't have high-speed internet. You're using your telephone lines. So search engines were kind of archaic and didn't really get you there. So the number one resource or source of traffic was type-in traffic. So if you had a good keyword and you had a good domain name, people would naturally type in where you're going to go, and then that's how they saw what was there. So I happened to own a bunch of high traffic domain names at the time, and I figured that we might as well try to put some of them up for sale, just like you would put up a for sale sign on a piece of property. So I created a landing page with all the domain names listed with a little link to send an email. And within the first 3 days of turning that page on, I blew up the servers at the hosting company because there was so much traffic, type-in traffic on those domain names. So then they added servers and the same thing happened. So then finally, after we got enough horsepower to just operate a landing page with domain names pointing to it, obviously I started seeing the light a little bit about how valuable these things really were in terms of traffic drivers. And one thing led to the other. I sold 14 names or something my second year, paid for all the renewals, 16 names the next year, paid for all the renewals again, put some money in my pocket. I'm still selling medical equipment full time, doing this till 4:00 in the morning. And finally in 1998, 1999, I decided to go after names that were better than mine and see if anybody else was interested in selling their names and putting it up on my pages. And so one of the first big names that we got was wallstreet.com. And that was the first name that sold for $1 million. So people thought it was a fluke, that there's no way a domain name, with just letters can sell for $1 million. And then we did it again with autos.com. And so autos.com kind of validated the model. That was the first $1 million and $2 million sale. And I ended up leaving the medical business, obviously, at that point, and then started the first online brokerage listing, it's kind of like silent auction system. And then we became a reseller, or I became a reseller for multiple registrars when the monopoly opened up from Network Solutions to Bulk Register and Register.com and a bunch of other players. And we sold lots of domain names, held like very specialized themed auctions like financial auctions and medical auctions, and used those domain names. And long story short, I founded a company called Moniker.com. Everything kind of folded into that. We became an ICANN accredited registrar through an acquisition of a small registrar out of Canada. Instead of waiting 6 months to become our own accreditation, I went out and bought one and put our sign on it. And then we bought like 10 more to help drive what was the first drop catching business. So we dropped, we'd catch names when names would expire. And we were probably the first customer that was up on Pool at the time, which was the first company that did that. I ended up running Snap Names when I got acquired by Oversea, as well as Domain Sponsor. So we ran the largest traffic monetization business as well, and continued with the auction front. In 2004, Rick Schwartz and Howard New started Traffic in Delray, Florida. And they asked me to assist with trying to get an auction, put together on premium domain names. And we got names to be put up on a board, and everybody came and wrote down their bids, on this board. And we sold like $45,000 or $50,000 worth of domain names at this, first traffic conference. And then I went out and said, you know what, we should be treating this like Christie's or Sotheby's or, an auction place. And, I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Oh, God. That's happened to me all week. Don't worry about it.
And so I got a older gentleman who was specialized in antique auctions here in town. His name was Joe Langbaum. He was a really funny guy, and brought him to the next traffic conference. And he was funny and cracked jokes. I kind of explained what we're trying to do, and he got it. We didn't have any kind of automatic bidding system at the time. It was paddles in the air, and then wrote down bids. And we sold $250,000 worth of domain names then. At the live auction, and it got exciting. And then, speeding up time, $560 million later, multiple auctions, including drop catching auctions through Snap Names. That's what we're responsible for. We made the market. We help elevate the portfolio value for everybody by having domain sales, significant domain sales, both through brokerage and through auctions year after year, keeping the industry fluid, even in bad times and good times, even when there's recessions. And I worked with some of the biggest corporate domain acquisition companies to help them acquire names in stealth. A lot of big corporate names that you see that are public today and on TV. Some I can mention, some I can't, but are a result of our either auctions or my brokerage services. And I had the first brokerage team at Moniker, and a lot of those brokers are now, supporting their families and have their own brokerage businesses, both cooperative and competitive to me. But that's good that a whole industry has been created due to our first brokerage team that, I treated like a, sales team or, stock brokerage team inside of a, stock brokerage firm. And we went out and knocked on doors and made cold calls for the first time and helped develop this market into what you see it today, which is the complete aftermarket. So that's how I got started. That's where it's kind of evolved in a kind of a very short period of time. But
Yeah, and for those who missed that little line there, that's $500 million, right? 560 million, $500 million worth of domains. That's a pretty notable number. Are any most memorable ones in there you care to share that you're able to tell people about, just to give an idea of some of this? You said there was Wall Street and autos. Just those two alone are pretty more than impressive. Any other standouts?
yeah, well, I was involved in the first sex.com transaction. I was involved. I sold porn.com, which, two big adult names. We sold lots. One thing I saw very early on, especially in the early days, if anybody's around in the 90s, is that the one industry that really was the most scrutinized, but helped the entire internet, was the adult industry at the time. So they were the first ones to do secured socket layer server addresses for their websites. They were the first ones to do merchant services, basically online. So it was a target of mine to get into the door of the adult industry because they were very smart people, and that's where the majority of traffic was going, was in the adult industry. And so back in the early 2000s, I was the only registrar booth sitting at the AWS show and the adult affiliate summit shows in Las Vegas, and people would be, why is there a registrar here? And I gained a lot of market share and a lot of respect for tapping into that market, because they had names spread all over the place. They didn't know what privacy was all about. We then invented Who is Privacy very early on, but because of us, good or bad, I invented Who is Privacy for the entire industry to help secure the private information for one particular customer, which was Yan Yi at the time, and the adult industry. Yeah. So that they weren't getting solicited and badgered all the time. And so I went and stood up and fought for that at ICANN to be allowed to do that. Then it became something that was allowed, and now it's completely the other way.
It's default.
Of course, it's defaulted, and now everybody wants to be able to show their contact information. But the intent at the time was to protect clients' rights, just like a private listing in a phone book, right? So why does everybody have to be listed publicly with their addresses if somebody wants to be private and not have their private information shown? So that's what we did with Who is Privacy. We were the first ones to do it, and we screened out all the spam messages that were coming in from the domain traffic at the same time. So it served two purposes. But we just were involved in a lot of pioneering, industry leading, inventions at the time when we got the registrar. I targeted and went after the domain investor community, of course, along with the corporate community at the same time, and the adult industry. Ironic as it is to have all three of those in the same registrar. But because of that, we had bulk DNS services and bulk sorting services for your domain names. And our time to serve on DNS live sites were better than everybody else. Never had a name stolen out of our registrar because we had added protections and a hands-on approach so that nobody can log in and try to swipe a name. So we were known always as the most secure registrar, and the registrar that was, but basically invented the monetization of a domain name from the beginning of registration to managing and monitoring and monetizing the traffic of the type in traffic, to the resale value and selling of domain names in the aftermarket, and then going through that whole cycle and giving people more money, every year to work with in the industry. So that's what we did there.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I want to get a little bit of your opinion on what's going on in the world right now. And I think I would give a little background to people. Like, so Monty, he does these superstar, big name domain name auctions. But he's not, like, as we said a little bit before recording, he's not just, putting names up and waiting for the highest bidder and then closing up. In the months leading up to it, he, prepares, he curates a list, and he also, he goes out into the end user world, as we'll call it, and tries to get the best, best buyers for these domains at auction. And in doing so, I think that's why I'm really interested to ask you this question. You have a unique sort of perspective, especially on the higher end. But I mean, I guess the overall feeling of what's going on in the industry. Like, you actually talk to these end users, and you get a vibe for how they're feeling. Like, in this past year, that's everything that's happened with the pandemic and just changes in the economy. What have you seen, and what do you see going forward?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So I've seen so much transformation in the domain business from the very early on when I was one of maybe 100 people in the whole entire world that registered domain names to how to make money on it, the building of websites and what that does to create the value and increase the value of domain names, to the challenge of branding and rebranding major corporations when they have the wrong name, or they don't have the right name, or they're getting half their traffic typed into another name because people don't know whether they're a .com or .co or another extension. And so it's been a transition that's circled like a couple times around the same directions to do that. And being a market maker and understanding the values, we've also, I've also done over 500,000 domain appraisals, so I used to be the only certified domain appraiser to be able to certify values of domain names for IRS. I've been in divorce proceedings, split up of assets of corporate, mergers and corporate dissolutions, conflicts of interest, all kinds of stuff. So I've seen everything from everything. I mean, you can imagine with domain portfolios and domain values and that kind of stuff. So the end user side, which is the corporate side. And by the way, 54% of our domain names are sold to end users at auction. So even though we started off as a domainer show auction type of platform, because that's just where people were buying names as investors. Back in in the early 2000s, it wasn't necessarily wholesale buying by domain investors. It was kind of retail buying too, because the top names were very sought after, kind of like the NFT world is right now, and people were paying up. And so when they were paying up for names, then they had to put that money to use once they bought the name and put it into action and monetize it, not only through back in the day, PPC was extremely valuable way to earn money. And, if you had to type in domain name, that was key. Today, that's 1/10 of the traffic that, the monetization play that it was back then. So now you have to do other things that are creative with that domain name, like affiliate marketing and lead generation and all kinds of other stuff. So what you see today, I think, and through the pandemic, in the initial stages of the pandemic a year ago, we saw everybody kind of panicking, and a lot of industries that were affected by the pandemic, struggling, going out of business, not spending money on domain names and rebranding. Where the other side, you saw companies like Zoom and online companies thriving and needing the right domain name, because that's where all the traffic was going. Imagine 90% of the workforce now not going to an office and then being at home all day. And what are you going to do? You can watch TV, do yard work, or you're on the web, doing something, communicating, doing business, trying to find out what you're going to do. And so obviously traffic actually picked up overall in the entire industry on the web for obvious reasons. So companies that thrived in the online industries, of course, did better. And those that were like restaurants and other things did not. But now you see a whole rework of strategy and approaches and what people are doing with both branding and driving traffic and trying to take advantage of how we do things different in the future. Again, the renaming, the rebranding of products, services, brand names, trying to get it right. New companies coming on the market, trying to get it right from the first time, with the insurgence of SPAC, all the SPAC markets, and trying to bring things public with the right names, that kind of thing. So I see that a lot, and obviously there's a lot of domain names in our inventory and everybody else's inventory for that stuff, and that's why we're seeing a lot more $7 million, $1 million, 7-figure, transactions going on recently. There always have been going on, but 90% of them are not public.
NDAs.
So, yeah, but you're seeing a lot more of it because of that, and through the government allocation of resources and funds, people weren't hurting as much as they thought they were, and they were reinvesting into crypto and domain names and other things. And so it's been the market's kind of turned around quite a bit into a positive direction, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. I I'm curious. So right now we have this big auction coming up in was it 3 weeks now for the was it 20? What's the
The
date?
23rd.
23rd. That's right. So the 23rd of September is the next right of the dot auction and at NamesCon. And so I was just curious, is that as you're doing it for this specific one, as you're reaching out to the end users right now, are you seeing that same vibe and you predict it kind of going forward, the same sort of growth of people coming online, or do you think maybe everything's happened in the past year, or what's your vision going forward? And then we'll get into some of the names coming up too. I'm excited to hear about, but yeah. So what's your vision going forward?
I'm getting mixed vision. It's mixed. First of all, it's always tough doing a live event at a online, conference, right? So it's challenging. Now, if everybody remembers, I did my own live auction myself in February. So I decided not to tag it to a show and to do my own live auction, because we were in a kind of a quandary as an industry. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep the industry fluid, and I'm going to show that names can still sell for, 5, 6, and 7 figures. And so that's what we did. And we sold millions of dollars worth of domain names, during that auction. And it was great. It was a good injection for the industry in February, when it was we were kind of in a lull. We weren't sure what's going on. We're kind of coming off the pandemic a little bit, but not really. And now that you have the resurgence, so it was a lot of work. And, I think we outperformed ourselves a little bit than what I thought we would do by doing that auction, but that's great. That was a good sign. In this upcoming auction, in terms of timing, I'm just not sure yet, but we have the right names and still getting names. There's still names coming in, some of the best names are coming in as I'm talking to be presented. So there's always a supply and demand curve. And so I can have 100 kick-ass names that are worth millions of dollars, but if there's not somebody buying them on the other end, it really is mute. It doesn't really help the industry at this time. Now, we do probably as much sales after the auction as we do during the auction. So the auction serves two purposes. It serves obviously to present an opportunity for names that sometimes have never been available for sale before, to be able to be for sale, both for investors and end users, because they are going to go up in value over time, is my belief. And then after the auction, we've already made, built up the inertia and the awareness of everything's at auction. Some people don't like to participate in auctions, some companies, or they found out about it too late and they're asking after the fact, hey, I did that name sell? I missed it, or I couldn't make it, or whatever. And so we actually do as much business, sometimes or even more, after the auction period, which is on purpose. And it's no different than Christie's and Sotheby's and Mecum and all the other top auction houses. And they raise awareness, and you see a lot of cars and a lot of paintings not meeting reserve, and then they'll sell it the next day or the next week or even 2 months later. So that's a good thing. So I think we're going to have a lot of after auction activity as well. I'm getting, I'm interested in that name, we'll participate, or, we'll see. I don't know if we have the budget, that kind of stuff, but that's typical. That happens all the time. And I'm glad that over half of our purchases are made by end users on average, because it's a good mix. It still gives an opportunity for domain investors to participate and get names at good prices, because we have no reserve names too. That could go up to hundreds of thousands of dollars even.
Yeah.
And we have names that are going to be priced at 7 figures, and they are rightly so, worth that.
Yeah, I think that's what's important, is establishing a lot of public sort of benchmarks of end user sales, right? That's what I appreciate. When there's some brokers in the industry who are adamant to try and make sure that a lot of sales aren't under NDAs. Many times it's not possible. It's just not realistic with certain buyers. Certain corporations won't do it. But when it's an auction, it's always public, right? And again, I want to thank you for those benchmarks that as domain investors.
That's one of the primary reasons we do that, because being ahead of Moniker and then doing all the transactions I've done, a lot of the biggest sales are not reported, and including me. I can't report them, but the auction is on purpose because of that. Along with being good for the industry, it's because we can publish those sales. And so probably the most published sales are our auction sales of all the reporting sales. And that is good. And I purposely have a range of pricing or price strategy names, so that there's great names at $5,000 and great names at $2 million, that they're published. And there's everything in between because everybody fits in a different silo and a different marketplace and a different spot. So it's good for everybody.
Yeah. All right. So on that note, I guess why we wanted to talk about some of the domains coming up this September, again, the 23rd. It's a Thursday, right? Thursday of NamesCon?
God, you know what? I don't even know what day it is. It's
Second
the
day?
September 23rd.
Yeah.
It's gonna be at
We'll check
1
it out.
p.m. Central Standard Time, or 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. It will be live. We'll be broadcasting live from a broadcast studio, like we did in February. I'm going to have my championship auctioneer, Wayne Wheat, with me. He's awesome. He's sold probably more homes and estates than anyone on earth. So he got it quickly when I went to him and said, "Hey, I need somebody that's really a step up to shadow me and shadow him on these names, because he's great. He's a great guy, and he's become very well liked and known in the domain industry." So we have some great names. Some of them I can't say yet, we have not even put out the teaser list yet. We're going to be turning on pre-bidding next week. So some of these names will be up in pre-bidding, and so people can go in and start getting registered to bid, putting their expression of interest on by going to I'll just throw it out there so it's on the record, but you go to rotd.hibid.com and you can register to bid. So it's rotd.hibid.com. That's how you get registered to bid. And to submit names, it's auctions.rotd.com. So soon that will be all in one site. We weren't able to pull it off this year. You submit at rotd.com, or you can go to rotd.hibid.com to get registered to bid.
Yeah.
So pre-bidding will be turned on next week. From that pre-bidding, we're able to see what names kind of float up the top and will be in auction. So that's one of the purposes that we did that. When I ran Snap Names, that was one of the things I did right away, is because Snap Names was, the leading platform for drop catch auctions. I was like, I'm going to turn this system into a pre-bidding system for our live auctions, and so that people can go in and start bidding early. And then those early bids determine on, sometimes you'll exceed reserve before the auction even starts, and that we know that name's going to go in auction. So that's good. And then some, names with the most interest and most bids will certainly go to auction in most cases. And then of course, some names will get all their interest at auction. So that's the other thing. So we have some great names, like this is a return name, but automobile.com, and we have autoloans.com.
Wow.
I just got political.com, which has never been for sale before. That's a huge name. It's already gotten several $100,000 bids on it.
Oh, I was going to bid $100. Actually, that's a great
in
name.
today's political environment.
That's an amazing name.
Between the RNC and the DNC, each one of those would like to have that name. Democratic.com and grave.com. We have lie.com, LIE.com, which also has good luck meaning in Chinese. Seminars.com, paparazzi.com, gunshops.com, reception.com, antivirussoftware.com, stockquote.com, some
seminars.com. That's pretty timely.
Yeah. So we're names like that will be going up as premium names, and all priced in 6 and 7 figures, probably. And we have some surprise names that are at no and low reserve that are kind of that quality too. So pretty excited about that. So they'll get a lot of action and a lot of activity as well.
Yeah. So actually, somebody just had a question. If you guys have any questions, we might have a couple minutes at the end. But so we want to know if people need to be attending NamesCon officially to participate.
No, you don't have to attend NamesCon officially to participate in the auction or to sell or buy names. We do encourage you to go to NamesCon to be part of the conference, because it's a valuable educational conference as well. And there's a lot of sessions about the values of domain names, and some of the other auctions they're having, obviously, for newbies and stuff, the no reserve auctions that they're having and stuff is a good way to practice, to how to participate in an auction.
Yeah, there's some good stuff. Yeah, there's some good stuff in those. I know they run these auctions on Clubhouse as well. There's some good stuff for starter domainers in there.
Yeah, I helped.
And experienced domainers too. Yeah,
I helped in the very beginning when they were doing the rapid fire auctions.
They're a good team.
To help monitor, and they've always put me as a moderator up there.
Yeah.
And
I think it's interesting that there's going to be and there's another one too for the blockchain stuff, which is kind of separate, I think. But it's fun because people need to get on board in in the industry, and it's I don't think many of us can afford those 7 and 8 figure domains right away from the start. But it's important to start somewhere, and
Yeah.
there's good domains at every level, and that's the key is to finding, even in your auction too. There'll be some probably in the hundreds sometimes pop up that are great investments, right?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. We have some, well, if there's a no reserve name, the opening bid is $300 or $500. So the first bid at $500 is now an active bid, but our no reserve names are start off at $500. It says no reserve, but it has to start off at $500 because it costs that much even to perform the transaction.
yeah,
So of course we don't make a lot of money doing that, but that's okay. That again, the purpose of my auction is not to put 75 or $100 million names up there. It's
yeah,
to give everybody a chance to participate and to be excited about it. And we got really good feedback from the last auction we did on the, even though it took a lot longer than we thought it would. It was our first time going to a live broadcast studio. There was a lot of moving parts, and we pulled it off, but it took longer than it should have. So I'm cutting the list almost in half this time, just because it's an online conference and we didn't want it to go as long. And the next live event, we'll do another, the next live conference, we'll do a little bit bigger list. Because people love the excitement in the room and raising their paddles in the room. It's fun to do that.
yeah. So I guess with the like the less expensive names, I guess those ones you have to curate a little bit more. You wait for those for initial bids before saying which ones are going to be on the final one. So it's kind of hard to say right now.
I curate them because I'm going to put them in the pre-bidding. So I obviously have to go through them all.
Yeah.
But
Right now we can't really. I wanted to share some with some people right now, but yeah, I think it's the point was like you're not quite sure which ones will be the most interesting, I guess, because you still have things coming in and you can wait for the bids. Is that it?
yeah, I mean, I already have some that I know, but I haven't we haven't turned it on yet. It was supposed to be turned on this week, but
I know.
there's so much going on outside of this, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but
Yeah.
but that's like surprisingly taken a lot of my time. So it's eaten into a little bit of that, but I instead of going to have fun at Labor Day weekend this weekend, I'm going to be working my ass off. So I'll be buried except for one day this weekend, working on this. So that we're ready to be turned on either on Monday or Tuesday or something for pre-bidding. And we'll make the announcement. Well, Monday's Labor Day, but Tuesday or Wednesday, there'll be a big announcement and people could start looking at some of the names on the list. So that'd be good.
Yeah.
But it's, when it's a very, it's a very tedious process to pick names for auction, but we have a good sell-through rate. So we're obviously doing something right, because our sell-through rate is, between 60 and 70%. So that's good. That means there's not 5 names in a row that don't get bid on. So it's always exciting. It's almost every other name that sells. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you briefly mentioned, you hinted you're busy with a couple other things right now, right? And one of those things I was kind of surprised to hear it was you are now involved in a registry.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct. So I've always been on the registrar side in my entire career. Well, as a domain investor, then as a pure, as an auctioneer. And by the way, the other side of this is that I think we're probably the only formally licensed auctioneer doing domain auctions. So I applied for a special license for this industry and I got approval, to do that for the state of Florida, which it has, shareability across different states and even in other countries. So it's very important to be licensed to do these auctions because you have to follow the auction guidelines and rules and laws. So that's another important thing. But getting it back to what you said, so a great opportunity landed on my lap in June. We are now the proud owners, part owners of .hip hop, which is the new TLD extension. This was part of one of the UNR Uni Registries suite of extensions that never got formally launched. It was kind of like just packaged up with a bunch of other extensions. Yeah. And some people know in Clubhouse, Ish Mealy, who runs a lot of Clubhouse rooms. He does a lot of NFT educational stuff. He was involved in a lot of domain stuff as well. And so him and I became partners in this extension. And Scott Pruitt, my marketing VP, and Jeff Newman, who some people might know, who used to run Newstar, which was .biz and .us, and then worked for Comlade. He's a partner as well. And we brought on a publicly traded company called Digital Asset Monetary Network. who has major connections in the music industry. So I would not normally take on a registry during this time, but after doing a lot of research and a thorough background on what the hip hop industry really is, it's almost $1 trillion industry. It's more than just the music genre. It's a whole culture, attitude, fashion, tons of billionaires created out of it. And Hip Hop happens to be on the ENS system, so the Ethereum name server network as well. So of course it's blockchain already enabled. It'll be great for cryptocurrency transactions, but better than that, artists and producers and songwriters will have the ability to do first releases on the platform and drive people to their own websites instead of to a Spotify or somewhere at first, so that they own the rights and control the IP, the intellectual property of that release. And in the token, without getting complicated, in the token of that music drop, the financial distributions will be all set in blockchain without any physical contracts. And so as it gets shared and resold and sold again and played and picked up in commercial snippets, there's all kinds of things that happen automatically through the blockchain that make it really cool, and the upside very enticing to me, unlike any other domain extension, because of the way music artists and physical artists, people that create NFT art and even regular art, can use this platform to launch and drive their own fan base to their own intellectual property, their own website, and have the first release happen there before it goes live on an Apple Music or Spotify. And then they get the right percentage payment all the time. Yeah. And everybody shares in the upside of it. And as it spreads across the world, they'll be able to see through data who downloaded it, when was it played, how was it played, what snippet was used, and all these things are all built into the intellectual property and the token of the particular IP or the property or the NFT that we're.
That's kind of it's kind of crucial. Yeah, it's kind of crucial. A lot of people don't know about me is that I actually got my first domain name in 1999. Handreg, I didn't know about the aftermarket, unfortunately, at that time, until just a few years ago. But it was to start a little hobby music site, and I quickly grew that into over a member base of almost 35,000 members within about a year and a half, 2 years. And there was music. I had artists submit the music to me to be reshared, and it was all this MP3 stuff. It was electronica, house, trance, that kind of stuff. So it was artists that wanted more exposure, and that's when that industry blew up. But I always felt that the biggest tragedy of the internet was that there was never any method for micropayments, right? To give like 10 cents or 15 cents for a transaction. So yeah, they would make less money per song compared to a conventional CD, but they wouldn't have the overhead of the record store, the distribution, all these other things, and they would have significantly more volume. And that's what's coming, right? That's what people don't realize, what's coming in this world of NFTs. It's like, they think it's apes and all this stuff. It's those things are, they're fun or whatever it is. I don't necessarily get the high numbers. The lower numbers I get. If somebody wants to distribute their own personal art, it's fun. If you have these things at lower tiers for club things, that's fun too. But it's exactly that. As you're saying, the music industry, it's going to be transformational. So you're in at the right time, I feel.
Yeah, and hip hop, in case anybody didn't know, is the #1 music genre now. It's the #1 downloaded music genre. It's surpassed rock and roll by 2.5 times. It encompasses R&B and rap and all kinds of other music. It started off in the 70s in Bronx, New York, for disfranchised people that were expressing themselves. And it's a good way to pay back that community and to offer something that's never been offered. And now everybody's touching it in some way. It's huge. If you look at your own kids, my kids are wearing sneakers that I wore back in the 70s, and they're worth 5 or 6 times the amount of money that you paid for them then. So like a pair of Nike high tops that were produced, that for the original concept came out in 75, are selling for $400 or something. And some of the Air Jordans are like thousands of dollars for a pair of Air Jordans. It's just crazy to me. That's all part of the hip hop movement and nation. It's the way that people are dressing in that whole fashion segment. So that's just one thing, and then, like you said, the the solution for micropayments, artists never got paid properly because you couldn't track who was using the music when. Even in broadcasted commercials, they never were protected or paid for the proper percentages. So blockchain fixes that, and having a solution for that. So it's much more than a domain name. Obviously, the .hip hop domain name, somebody will have to have the website. So there's going to be lots of registrations because of it. And then what happens after that is something that we're even more excited about. So
very excited.
So very excited about, and I never thought I'd be in it, but Jeff Newman's a rock star in the industry. If those that don't know him, he's a top attorney, IP attorney in the industry, and been involved in several registries. And Scott Pruitt, of course, who works with me, worked for web.com for years, and was their marketing person for Snap Names and web.com. And of course, my experience with registrars, I helped launch several new TLDs for them by doing premium auctions for these TLDs, including .club and even .asia and .tv and .mobi back in the old days, and all these at these various auctions. So we've been hired. I was hired multiple times to create their premium lists. And so the hip hop list is huge and massive. And, imagine, a whole music studio that owns the rights to, millions of different records and songs having access to their IP and their domain name through their catalog through a .hip hop extension. It's going to be huge. So pretty excited about that too, along with the auction that's coming up.
Yeah. This little auction you got going on. Yeah, I heard there's a couple of domain names to go for a few bucks, I guess it is, right?
Yeah.
To say the least. Yeah. No. So you got a lot on your plate. So is there anything else that you're working on these days? You also broker names separately outside the
Oh yeah, between auctions, obviously I'm one of the top. I still broker. I spent my time on high end names because that's that's my niche. So I spend times brokering really big names and do that. Most of which I can't publish, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is. And I'm invested in Costa Rica quite a bit. I've got a adventure park down there called Diamante Eco Adventure Park, and we have a luxury villa down there that we rent, and we're going to be building a kick-ass beach club, like a Nikki Beach on the beach down where it's near my house. And so pretty excited about that, because that's people that haven't been to Costa Rica, it's like one of the most beautiful places to go. It's one of the top choices to go after the pandemic. It's green and natural and raw and organic and just stunning things to do there, and not polluted anywhere and safe. So pretty excited about that too. And have my hands in a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got yourself busy, and I think I wish you luck in keeping your sanity for the next month or so.
On top of that, I have three teenagers.
Oh, so forget the sanity; it's already gone, right? Yeah.
Drive me crazy.
Yeah. So any other parting words? I guess maybe let people know. I guess we'll remind them again. So actually, NamesCon coming up. We'll do a little thing on that.
If you haven't signed up for NamesCon, go sign up for NamesCon for sure, because it's a valuable conference, and our auction is going to be on the 23rd of September. To participate in the auction, you need to go to rotd.hybid.com. All this information will be on our rotd.website, and you can submit names too. For a little bit longer. I'm going to snap the line here soon on the name submissions, because there are tens of thousands of them, and we're coming up with some of the lists, and pretty excited about it, and excited about the future of the domain industry and the convergence of the domain industry and the digital asset market in general, NFTs and everything. So I'll be following you on that for sure, because what your vision for .hip hop,
again, like I said, people don't know this about me much, but I had a pretty big music website for a while, and I interact with a lot of these DJs, or they're DJs, but they're actually the artists, the people who wrote the club music songs and stuff like that, and that was always a thing. I was always trying to figure out, like, how do we make it so that you can sell your songs for 10 cents per unit and end up making more money than you would on vinyl, or and by a factor of 10. You can drop the price by tenfold, but make 10 times more the money on the other end because of volume, right? And that was just
the power of social media and viral spreading in the music industry and in art too is much larger than the Spotify's and Apple Music worlds and all that stuff. It's massive.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at some of the stars that became famous just off of YouTube videos, Journey's head lead singer was hired from YouTube. So imagine that in a digital format and a platform, and having it domain name on the front end of that, so it puts them together. And mentioning NFTs, our new auction system and platform we're going to do our first NFT auction probably in the next 2 months. So I'm pretty excited about that too.
Yeah, those are pretty hot. I've been trying to avoid those words this week, but they're unavoidable, right? It's just there's a lot of
domainer and domain investors in the market for the same reasons they got into domain names from the very beginning. Yeah. And so it doesn't make one worth less than the other, but it is digital real estate. It's digital assets. That's what domain names are. It's a little bit different form, but it really all ties together. And of course, with .hip hop, we're going to tie them together for sure, because you have to have the website and a domain name in order to have the other side of the digital platform with the blockchain. And I'm not going to be the only one doing this. This is going to be lots of registries are moving to blockchain and doing this stuff. So anyway, it's very exciting for the next several years. It's going to be a crazy ride.
I think I'm enjoying this conversation. I think after my crazy week's almost over, after your crazy month and a bit, maybe we'll get together sometime and have another one and we'll discuss the music aspect when there's a little bit less chaos in both of our worlds. But aside from that, I really appreciate you coming here today, making the time and your rather crazy schedule over the next few weeks. Any parting thoughts to everybody before you go?
Oh, just stay positive through all this. I don't know if we're out of this pandemic or not, but because of these types of conference or these types of get-togethers, it keeps everything engaged, excited, and it keeps people meeting each other and staying together and keeping a common cause. So I love it. I've done so many Zoom meetings and stuff. I never used to do that stuff, so crazy. A year ago, we were doing Zoom birthday parties and cocktail parties and shit. It was so nuts. Yeah. So I'm glad in Florida, we're allowed to go to bars and restaurants and go hang out like normal people. But I know some places are less, more restricted than that.
Yeah. Oh, well, on that note, I guess we'll end things there. Thank you again for joining us today. Let's close off a rather.
Should I stay around a little bit and answer some questions, or
if you'd like? Sure, yeah.
Anybody do that for a little bit?
Q&A. I got a couple minutes with Monty. You put them right in the Q&A. There's a little button at the bottom. I know you guys are not used to it too much. If you actually put in the chat, I'll try and read them too.
See it.
Where we go? Do you think okay? Here's a good one. Do you think .hip hop would be a long learning curve for artists to start using?
No, because that's we're going to make it simple, stupid. We're going to have an easy to use application and platform that somebody goes in and just creates their domain name, and then 3 or 4 steps they're going to have that platform so that they can download their music, share it, and then drive all their social media to it. So it's just beginning in concept, but it's very capable and easy to do. We're not going to make anything complicated. That's the way to get mind share and do it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think any more. People are pretty shy at the start. Anybody have any questions for? Here we go. Okay, so will there be any .net or .io in the auction?
Is it yes, there will. .com? Yes, there will. Yep. Some .orgs, .nets. There'll be a couple of new extensions as well. It'll be primarily .com, but there's some really kick-ass. I got healthcare.net, for example. That's if anybody remembers, 4 or 5 years ago, I sold healthcare.com. For the same owner, by the way, for $400 and some odd thousand, I think it was. Is it First Names Con, Second Names Con auction, maybe? Anyway, the same owner peeled off .net, which is top .net name, as an example. And I think we have restaurants.org, which is a great name. Wow. If anybody remembers, I was trying to sell restaurants.com, which is huge. Restaurants.org is big .org name as well.
I like .orgs for that utility, yeah.
Another one. We have psoriasis.net. So I got some good medical names in .net as well. So yeah, there'll be other extensions.
Yeah. Here, Mike wants to submit luxurycar.net.
Yeah, we had poker.gg submitted a couple days ago by the registrar.
Oh,
So that's probably going to go up. That's a great name.
yeah. Yeah.
.gg, double G is the
Oh, good
.gg
name.
extension is becoming very popular as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you seeing that in your brokerage size? Are you not really starting with those yet? Or like, have
Oh,
you
I've sold
brokered any
lots
dollars?
of alternating extensions for sure. Um, in that case, but you can say the corporate world has lagged for 10 years, maybe, in terms of what they felt the importance of a .com is. So I had one big corporation tell me how expensive it was to go from, .co to .com as an example. And I love the .co domain name. I helped those guys out a lot when they first launched. And I got the whole reason why they exist and a big supporter of theirs. But there's a huge difference between .co and .com in terms of value at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that one letter is probably worth 97% of the overall domain name.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what the difference is. So that one missing M is that difference between, a 90+% increase in value, even though .co's have great value for what they do. But we still live in a .com world, kind of. And so all .co's are kind of misspelling for .coms, and people mistype them all the time and don't know whether it's a co or com. And so the com gets the traffic from it. Now, in all honesty, I was totally against new extensions back when I ran Moniker. I thought there wasn't enough supply and demand to support it. And I was in the front lines of valuations and auctions, and as a registrar, registering as many names as we could. And so I offered all the extensions I could. And I was very involved in the .biz release and the .info release before the wave came of 1,000 new extensions. And, when you have kids and you look at the younger generation and how they use apps and everything, no matter how much you're dead set on com will only be the thing that lives, and, all the archaic comments that happen in that, you have to understand that relevancy to the right of the dot makes a lot of sense. And I go back to the story, to the assimilation to where we were with the 800 business years ago. So if everybody remembers the toll-free number 800, there was only one toll-free number. It was 800, and 800. People didn't remember what the numbers were after the 800, so they started spelling words afterwards. So 800 buy cars is a perfect example. 800 doctors. So when you had that premium 800 extension, it's the same as a premium.com name on the other end. But after time, after millions of those things are registered and taken, they're gone. They're registered one time unless they're resold. And technically you can't resell an 800 number. You have to sell it along with a business. So what happened to the 800 business? What happened next? What did you see happen? What other extensions came out?
888-877-866.
855, 833, 844.
Yeah.
There's 20 of them now.
Yeah.
All with 844 buy cars, 833 buy cars. They're all by different companies.
Yeah.
Because that's a unique identifier at the other end. So .com, .net, .org, and then you have .whatever at the end of that. That's your extension line. Now, why is that important? Well, our kids don't give a fuck about, excuse my French, don't give a shit about 800 numbers because they use cell phones and it's free. But the biggest corporations aren't getting rid of their 800 numbers either. So they will always keep their 800 numbers because that's what they're branding. They branded themselves back in the 70s and 80s and 90s with their 800 numbers. Yeah. So the same thing's going to happen with .com. So .com will be here forever. But my kids don't give a crap about .com. They don't know what it stands for. Half the people listening to this session don't know what com actually stands for. It stands for the word commercial. Some people think it stands for community, communication, all kinds of things. But it's commercial, and it was originally designed for profit as a commercial extension. So, but it's not a dictionary term. But when you have something like autos or pay or sex or whatever on the end, and you have a linguistic meaning on the front of that dot, it makes a lot more fluid sense sometimes than having something that doesn't. And so one could argue that buycars.com may not be as valuable as buy.cars because it's shorter and the right of the dot actually has search meaning. So I've transformed my opinion of this obviously over time. And when I watch my kids go to IO sites and all these other sites for their apps, and they don't know what comms are, and they didn't know what a toll-free number is, that's where you have to think about what the next generation of users are going to do. What are they going to do? How
Yeah.
are they going to use the web? How do they use their phones and the web and cooperate with that? And what makes linguistic sense to them? Is it all, do they care whether it's a .com or a .autos or a .games or whatever?
Yeah.
Probably makes more sense if it's play.games or
Yeah.
download.games than it is.
It's an evolution over time, right? It's all about usage. It's a little feedback loop where it's like you start off, there's a couple of sites that take off and people see it, people go to it, and then when they start their website, they use it, and then slowly but surely it gets a sort of critical mass.
Yeah,
It's just like 888, right? You said 888, and then 888 was probably a little bit more obvious because it was, a nice memorable one, but then 877, I think for the longest time, whoever had that extension were probably struggling for people to realize, they can call them for free, right? The whole point was like, come to us, it's free for you to call us, but people would hesitate. But then
I got a call. I got a healthcare number today was 822. I never saw it before.
Is that toll free?
Yeah, it's toll free.
Wow. Okay.
That means they're still running out of it. They're running out of extension, out of to the right of the 800 or their toll free number, and they're running out. So they're creating new extensions, right? Yeah. So if you think of it that way, it doesn't jeopardize the 800 business. It adds to it because the market's getting bigger.
Yeah.
So we're only a 35% internet penetrated worldwide economy right now. Believe that or not, we're 78% in the United States, not 80 or 90%. 78% of the people are connected to the internet in the United States.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And less in China. But if you go to Africa, 17%.
Yeah.
So, everybody goes, well, of course that's Africa. Well, that's not, of course, because it's Africa. What do you think is going to happen in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Of course, they're going to come online, and they're going to come online with 1 billion people. They're going to come online stronger than ever. And they're going to use whatever easiest mechanisms there are, because they're mostly mobile enabled, not computer enabled. Nobody's sitting at, there are people sitting at desktops and computers, but they're all using their cell phones, and same in Asia, they're all using their cell phones. So what's easy? Is it .ai or .io easier than a .com? Is it easier than whatever it is? Instead of fighting it, you have to understand what people's behavior are going to be and what their kids and their kids after them are going to be doing. So that's one of the reasons why even .hip hop seems like a segment in the music industry. It has broad sex appeal for a blockchain enabled extension that can help the music industry as a whole and artists. And anybody that you can be in rock and have a .hip hop name, so that's just one example. But several. I mean, look what just happened to .club, getting resold to
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy. GoDaddy wanted nothing to do with new extensions 5 years ago. now they're one of the largest after extension owner. Why is that?
Because they have the data and they know something's happening, right?
Exactly.
There's no way they would have bought that without.
Have 50% of all registrations in their wheelhouse and 1/3 of all hosted websites. So they obviously know what's going on, and so do other players. So anyway, Donuts is successful because of that. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that.
Alrighty. Well, I think we're gonna get things going to the. So somebody wanted to know. I saw where they can get .hip hop. Is that out yet? Is it?
It is. It got released years ago, but it's not on not that many websites yet. So we're going to be starting a get.hiphop page, which is going to list all the ICANN accredited registrars and carry it. It's not out there yet, but GoDaddy used to carry it, and then they took it off because the .hiphop registry, the original owners, decided to raise the price to $100 a year. We're going to move the price back down to something that's more attractive. We will have tiered prices for premium names like other registries do, but that's for a reason. I think name.com carries it, namecheap.com carries it. I'll get a list out later that carries it right now, but everybody's gonna start carrying it, when I get done with it. So, but between now and the end of the year, you're gonna see it available in most big registrars.
Great. Yeah. I'm really excited to see what you're gonna, the other stuff you're talking about, how you're gonna sort of get everything digitized and help the artists kind of monetize their stuff. So, but Monty, I really appreciate you being here. We went a little bit over time. I kept it a little bit long. I know you're welcome to stay too if you like afterwards in
Stay
the
for a little bit.
social.
I got to go get my kids
Yeah.
from school in about 10 minutes. So
Yeah. So, but I mean, yeah, I appreciate everything you do again for the auctions, making things public. That to me is a big deal. People don't realize that, the muddling of some sales that are like wholesale, versus the retail stuff. It's sometimes that information hurts us, but having those top tier ones that are to end users really helps, again, elevate the price points that we can command. I don't operate yet in the seven figure domains. Maybe next week after this week's over, I'll start to dabble in that. But no, but I mean, it's cool because all these things that make the headlines. Every headline out there with a seven figure domain name sale means another potential end user, even if they're buying for $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is, it means they know that there's value in domains, right? And that it will wake up their eyes and go, well, why is there value here? It's because it helps leverage a business, their ability to make more money by having a great ad, as you said, great address. You'll get more traffic, and more traffic means more sales or more visibility, and whatever it is. At the end of the day, it brings value, and there's a reason why domains sell for millions of dollars.
yeah, you either got to have a memorable name that's not a .com, or you got to have a .com that drives traffic, because you want to eliminate having to spend money on buying traffic or buying or spending money to have your CPC costs go up, or try to buy keywords all the time, which is a project in itself. But if you have a name that makes sense, that's memorable, that's linguistically makes sense to the right and left of the dot, regardless of the extension, that sticks in people's heads. And then, of course, if you have something that's obvious, that's a .com, that drives traffic naturally already, so organically. So I'm a believer in either one of those two approaches, along with good SEO and organic measurements to get your business thriving on the internet. So that's the important thing.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, as I said, we're gonna wrap things up. We're gonna start the final domain social. It's kind of weird to say that, but yeah, thanks, Monty, for being here for the tail end of Domainer Week. It's been a really fantastic week and a great talk. And it's the first time we've talked, pretty much, aside from a couple of quick phone calls. But I'm gonna be connecting with you to have another one of these sessions, a longer one, after the chaos of your auction is done, because the whole music industry and what you're going to be planning on doing, to me, is it's really a personal interest of mine, and how it connects with domains just makes it even more wonderful. So thanks again for being here.
All right, thank you so much.
And so if anybody has any questions for Monty, or you want to submit stuff, it's give it was the HiBid address again, rotd.hibid.
If you just go to rotd.com, everything will be on there. But to sign up for the auction, to participate in the auction and the bidding, it's rotd.hibid.com. That's HIBID.com. But everything will be connected through rotd.com. So you can submit your names from there, and you'll be able to be steered over to signing up for bidding at the auction platform.
Perfect. Thanks, Monty.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. So that's the last one-on-one of this week. I want to thank Monty for being here. I want to thank every other panelist for being here this week. In the end, there was 49. I almost got to 50. I had some mix up and with the emails with Morgan. And I was going to say that, I only had 49, but in theory, Morgan Linton was with us all week either way, right? Because after I did a domain panel with him, I think it was the end of earlier on this year, he sent me this wonderful T-shirt that I've been wearing all week. When I was doing stuff last year, when the domain show when I produced that for Paige, he told me there's one tip if you're in front of a camera, it's to have your TV shirt ready. I can't remember the exact term, whether it's TV shirt, whatever it is, but it's basically if you're doing a lot of video stuff and whatever it is, have one shirt, clean shirt that's always the same one on standby, just to put on when you go on, so that whenever you edit up different things during the week, or during the week, might not during the week, but during during however many days you're doing it, it all looks seamless, right? So I don't really plan on editing anything. Everything's going to be on YouTube from here till the end of time, pretty much. But yeah, as I said, so there was 49, but I gotta say, I gotta turn around. Yeah, so that's 50, right? Morgan, if we mixed up the emails and stuff like that, he was with us in heart. So I wanted to say there was 50 people, 50 panelists this week, and I want to thank every single one of them. Many of you are here right now. I really appreciate all the energy and effort you put into this. So what I want to do right now, I'm going to go into a little bit more of these little sort of things, but there basically there's so many people I want to thank for everything. However, this whole social thing was, as many of you might not know, not at all my creation, right? Somebody with a certain authority in this industry, back in I'm actually going to bring him up while I talk. Back in where are we here? And another special person as well. Back in March of 2020, started a crazy little thing he called the quarantine social, and it quickly took off into a weekly meeting of many people that I consider my friends today. And so, man, Michael Sager, again, DN Academy, but for many of us slightly older domain investors, domain Sherpa, I've listened to with my dog probably, I don't want to say thousands of hours, because it might not quite be 2,000, but it's been more than 1,000 hours of walking little steamy and listening and re-listening to those old podcasts, and the effort he does right now with the DN Academy has been great as well. I also, on my screen below him also is Jonathan Frakes, who's this past year, he's sometimes behind the scenes, but I want everybody to know that he's been absolutely paramount in helping me in anything I do, right? In the socials specifically. But even for this week, those of you on Saturday, there was an amazing technical day when we had the CCTLDs, NGTLD panel, and then also the blockchain domain panel as well. That was like 98% him, and I just put the names. He gave me the names. I put them on the schedule, and we talked a bit about it. But it was, it was a special day, and it was double special for me because it allowed me to take care of the rest of the week, because it was a monumental week. And anytime I asked for help from either of these gentlemen, they always reach out with their advice and help and whatever it is. And so I just want to take a few minutes, especially Jonathan has an important phone call in a few minutes that he has to get to, but we'll get him back later on, hopefully later on tonight, because we're going to go quite late. But Michael and Jonathan, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everything.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's my pleasure. I'll speak for myself, but it is interesting how you brought up onto the stage two relatively handsome, relatively intelligent people, both from Seattle. What is it about Seattle, Jonathan, that has us? I don't know, but I do want to say, and I'd like to revisit a little bit about how we got here. And your metamorphosis, RF, from somebody who didn't even own a camera or come on the microphone to what we had today, which you've taken flight and amazed us all. But congratulations on a phenomenal week. The organization, the determination, the follow through took a tremendous amount of work, and we all appreciate it. Thank you so much for what you've done for the industry, for everybody that learned something new, for everybody that participated, and new friends that you helped bring together this week.
Yeah, that's probably the most important thing, is the community aspect, the socials over the last year. I knew you a bit from before. Obviously, I reached out to you many times, with questions on Sherpa and things like that, and you've been. I remember when I started domain investing. I made the jump from domain collector to domain investor. It was yourself. It was it was Shane, Frank Schilling, and Drew Rosner. They were the three regulars on the Sherpas, but there's many more. But like I consider, you guys like Amar and Braden, like like kind of like my uncles, giving me advice over the things. I always say sometimes I joke around Uncle Mike and whatever it is. So I'm really grateful to all of you, and just what I've done this past year and this past week is more of a testament to what you guys have laid the foundation for. So, I'm really grateful for that. And also Jonathan too. Jonathan might be not as publicly visible as Mike Seiger. I don't think anybody could be in this industry, but Jonathan behind the scenes he's helped me in so many ways. Most importantly, just being my friend this past year, close friend. But also he does a lot of work behind the scenes. ICANN and other volunteers and all these other acronym places that I couldn't even begin to understand. And that's why people like him are really important. He donates a lot of his time to push forward, ways to make the internet a better place.
Got to keep me humble, Arif.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know you have a hard stop for 5 minutes.
For those of us on Clubhouse, Jonathan was making the motion that his head is getting larger and larger.
Oh yeah,
I will say
Sorry,
that Jonathan is the super glue that keeps the industry that goes far and wide, ICANN and blockchain all together. So yeah, I agree with everything.
And Michael, maybe if
said.
I can plus up that analogy, you're the guy who keeps people from getting super glue between their hands.
Their fingers are sticking together. Yeah.
Or their hand against the wall. Yeah. I mean, Mike, for getting the trajectory going on this, as we went into the weird upside down world of the pandemic, when people have been, sitting, marinating in their own homes and opinions and attitudes and whatnot, being able to do this is, I don't know, it's been really great to connect with people. And we are in a business that, just manifests such great rewards for doing it right. That you're instructing people, helping them do it right, do it with integrity, do it well is really fantastic. And Arif, listen, you make it easy to be your friend and to help support this. Your dedication week after week to get the group together, to be there just as the bedrock, making sure that this was there, your dedication across the last 15, 16, 18 months, it feels like, I don't know, 2020 was a long decade, right? It was just a lot of time that we spent. Thank you for your commitment. Like with NamesCon, you don't see me much at NamesCon anymore. The objective was really, it's about the principle. We're in a great industry. I'm about the industry and propping it up. Now you don't see me that much at NamesCon. You see people like Mike Seiger, Kate Buckley, Morgan Linton, Krista, I'm spacing on her last name. She's going to kill me. Taylor, thank you. I mean, just so many people who just do so much to prop up the industry. I like to make sure that there's a foundation there for them to do it. So maybe I'm the foundation under your foundation, RF, but thank you really for helping to elevate this industry and get the word out. And Michael, DN Academy and what you've done there to help people, turn it up a notch it's really wonderful. I mentioned we've had Ellen Roney, the author of the Domain Name Handbook,
she's here right now.
She's great, wonderful. Hi, Ellen. And I started out this in the early 90s, and her textbook was something that we'd use to help instruct the staff to make sure they understood our complex industry. There's all kinds of, as you said, acronyms and things. And with what you've done, Michael, you've created a whole new caliber of industry. And you're doing a lot for important charities. So thank you for that. Arif, you've carried it forward. You've done the auctions for charity. I think we were able to donate almost $12,000 around Christmas time to different charities. This is what it's about. This is really the spirit of our industry. So, hugs to everybody. It's always been wonderful to tune in every week. I'm kind of dominating right now, Mike, because I have to hop for a call. But this has meant a lot to me across the last year, to connect with people, to meet people. And there's a certain really wonderful elevated caliber of the people who join us every week, whether they're more of the audience and they're quiet or they're there sharing. I have really been thrilled and delighted and honored to be a part of this. It's really something special, Mike, that you set the trajectory on, and Arif, that you kept going. So thank you for the privilege of being a part of this. And I will try to come back later, but it's really important that I said that. RF, giant hug from Seattle.
Thanks.
Mike, giant hug from across the water. Basically, you're over in Bainbridge. I think I'm south by the airport. So to all of you who've been here every week, and to those of you who join us every once in a while, thank you for being a part of something really special. And I'm looking forward to what this can transform into in the podcast. And what excites me is that we'll have the opportunity to do some deep dive stuff, and that's when it's been really fun. And there's so many really amazing people in the group that have such specialization. And when they speak up, sometimes we've had people who have been quiet, and then they'll speak up, and it's like, wow, I cannot believe.
I remember a couple of those moments.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Meredith and, her technical aptitude, I was flummoxed, at her chops. And we had Stephen Deerhake, who runs the .as registry. He's been deeply involved in ICANN. If I'm Yoda on ICANN, he's like the Yoda teacher. He knows all. And just so many of you. I wish I had a week to do this. The sweet symphony of Frank took some, welcoming people. The banter on the chat with Mike Gilman and some of you, and just some of the fun stuff we've done and shared. I'll always treasure and cherish the time. And as I look back on the pandemic, I'll pick like 2 or 3 bullet point things to think of, and this is absolutely strongest as far as what I think of, because it was really a neat way to turn lemons into lemonade. And I just really can't thank you both enough for this. And RF, your dedication and your grit, just amazing. So thank you. I regret I have to leave because I have to lead some day job stuff.
Yeah.
In
Jonathan,
wonderful world of ICANN.
Jonathan, here's the thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to we're going to social. I'm going to put people on stage. We're still be on. I want to give people an idea of what it is we've done over the last year. I'm going to keep the YouTube going and the recording going probably to about for another. I want to say my target is 5, but you guys know how I am with setting times. 5, maybe 5:30, some in that range. Won't be after 5, before 5:30, somewhere in there. If we hit 5:30 and I haven't done it yet, let me know. But as you know, when I say we're going to end things maybe around 7, 8 o'clock Eastern, there's times we ended after midnight. So I'm not closing this room until you come back. All right, it might not be recorded anymore.
And it will not be closed until you come back, Jonathan.
And I want to tell you something else. We've had some amazing guest stars come through here, like literal rock stars, literal movie stars, have sat and audited this. And when you're recording these to YouTube, they're coming through and watching it. Just what we've been able to be as ambassadors for this industry, and what we've been able to help people, figure things out, has been really wonderful. I leave you with, do not ever intentionally register a trademark domain name. That's the one most important thing I could ever say. And I will see you all later. Thank you so much.
Hey, Jonathan.
Thanks again for everything, eh? Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Cheers.
Yeah. Hey, Michael.
RF. So if you remember when I started the quarantine socials after, the entire world got flipped upside down and people weren't sure if they were going to have their jobs, and companies in their towns were closing down, and domain names, for a good few weeks, we thought nobody's going to buy another domain name again. And at least we could get together and we could commiserate, and maybe somebody would have a sale that we could all celebrate, and maybe somebody would have some news, and maybe I would share a little bit of what was in DN Academy. But every single time we would get on and we would have a little toast. And if nothing else, we could drink. We could drink tea, we could drink coffee, we could drink whiskey, whatever. So today I brought the DN Academy Seattle jacket koozie, and the Seattle Rainier beer in your honor. And it is afternoon, of course. So
I got
first toast of the day is going to go to you for such a phenomenal job this week, for doing everything that you do for the industry. Thanks so much, RF.
I thank you. I'll it's been a long week, so I'll accept that for sure. But I want to mirror it right back to you. For many reasons, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for the seeds you planted way back when you started Domain Sherpa, right? If I At one point, I got in the industry. I had domains for a long time. As we mentioned earlier on with Monty, I got my first domain for my hobby site that exploded in no time, but in 1999. And but since then I had a few other domains with, as 80% of the people here, the intention of building out. And realistically, I had done a build out before, but as that collection grew to dozens, and I think maybe even a couple hundred at a certain point, there was around almost, actually probably almost to the day, well, maybe a couple weeks to the day ago, 5 years ago, where I saw a little flutter of .co's coming to expiration, which I know now was based on the anniversary date, because every anniversary date of these new TLDs, there's usually a flood of higher quality domains that come up. It caught my eye, and I'm like, oh, some of these are interesting. I could dream of building this out and that out, but I go, I'm not going to buy anything unless I'm prepared to make the step to being open to resell them. And that was 5 years ago, and that's when I joined a couple of the forums, and I started listening and re-listening to the older episodes of Domain Sherpa. So yeah, if you guys want to succeed in this industry, get a dog. That's all I'm going to say. Get a dog who likes to walk. You can listen to all this stuff, little steamy. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm appreciative for that. That all that information set the seeds for me becoming a better domain investor. And then again, when you started the social this year, and then when you were saying you're going to take a break, and does anybody want to take it over? And I remember I was writing an email, because I was doing a couple little after parties, we called them, with a little group of us. And I go, oh yeah, it's a fun extension to that. And so yeah, so then I wrote you, and then that was the first one I did was July, the first Friday of July 2020, and I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I was like, oh, okay, but now it's like I'm on the microphone, and I don't shut up. So I want to thank you for all the domain knowledge, but I also want to thank you for this. Like this week, well, this past year, but this week would not have happened if it wasn't for just you handing this off to me, and me taking some time to grow and to figure out how be a little bit more comfortable in front of a camera. And as some of you might not have seen this week, there's a lot of fires going on this week behind the scenes, but it's I think I managed to put most of them out. There was still a few little things here and there, and I want to apologize if I said some weird things as to some of the people I was interviewing, because it's when you're planning, producing, hosting, and interviewing, and trying to look the person you're interviewing in the eye, it's like, wait, what's going on? You can't find the link, and it's like, and then you got to figure out the conversation. It's so I apologize to anybody if I was a little bit awkward or made anybody feel awkward at any point in time. But yeah, I do want to thank you for this week, because for getting me to the point where I am now. It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you handing off the baton to me back last July. So.
Yes. And anybody else that's looking, look at all the people that you met this week and got to interact with, and you emailed with. Your network has just blossomed, right? Yeah. And that's going to benefit you in the long run. It's going to benefit all those people in the long run when they need help with certain things, or they want to reach out and get your advice on anything. So anybody that's like watching this on YouTube, anybody that's on Clubhouse or on currently on Zoom, think about other opportunities where you might be able to host something like Arif has just done. It doesn't need to be a whole crazy 9 days of a conference. It could be like a 1 hour Clubhouse room that you just start, because you don't see any other Clubhouse rooms on domain names. You just come up with a little title like, hey, let's talk about domain names, and take it live. And then, the awkward part is when you're the only one in the room, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't take long before somebody else will see you, and then more people will join, and the network effects happen. So all you have to do is, have a couple of ideas of things that you might want to talk about, some news items, maybe go to name bio, sort by date, see what's sold over the past 2 days. That's all it takes is to start a conversation with people. So I do encourage other people to do exactly what Arif did. And when you host, when you have people over to your house and it's you hosting, there's a lot more benefits that you get out of it.
Yeah, yeah. And for those of you who are too shy, like maybe I was like last year, you know, it's totally fine, right? I mean, if but you know, these community sessions, whatever it may be, whether it be Clubhouse, Zoom, or you know, hopefully in real person, they're important. I'm seeing a lot of people now, you know, that I talk to that are trying to start new things. And so I just want to, you know, for everybody listening who enjoys this type of content, whether it be, you know, Michael's old Sherpas, or you know, the socials are now going to be evolving into domain podcasts. I'm not leaving things completely, but you know, if you're in these clubhouse rooms and there's people organizing them, you know, there's you know, even if you don't start them, help them out. You know, send feedback, you know, write comments on it. If it's on YouTube, you know, click the subscribe, click the like button, write comments, you know, send them an email, saying thank you for organizing this. You know, it really helps a lot. And also, you know, if you have any comments, or even if there's something you think that they should change, you can say in a constructive way, do that too. You know, I mean, I remember when I first started, again, I was listening to the Sherpas. I wrote Mike and a few of the guys some emails asking for help and this and that, and saying, oh, I like the show and stuff like that. And I know now that when people write me in the same way, that yeah, it's great to get those emails. So, you know, do that, and you know, help in any way. If people ask you to reshare a tweet, it might not seem like much for one person to reshare a tweet, but when everybody does it, it really helps that person create something even better, right? When you get more people in, and you get to organize a little bit more. So, you know, when I ask you guys to write me some questions ahead of time, you know, please do so. But now it might be a little bit different for me, but do that for other people. You know, when you're in these rooms out there, you know, people organize stuff. You know, I see right now in Clubhouse. So I'm trying to avoid putting names here, but you know, I see Jeff, I see Michelle, you know, and I know they like Michelle does the at 2:00 every week, these contests for hand registering domains, and see who get the best ones and come up with creative ideas of how to sort of, you know, get the best domains in any given category. And Jeff's a new domainer, right? He's new to domains, but he's stepping up and he's starting his group. He does it every Thursday. And even then, it's like, you know, he's learning while he's doing it, but he's also organizing, getting people together. These things are important to propel our industry. So, you know,
I didn't know about anything in domain names when I started Domain Sherpa.
I
That was
know.
the whole point. I was going to learn as I went along. So yeah, it's a fantastic thing that Jeff is doing on Clubhouse and Michelle is doing for the Reg War battles. And yeah, it's great to have everybody in the community that we have. And the more people that step forward to do something, try something new, the better we all are for it.
Yeah. So actually, on that note, so as I said, it's not necessarily the end. I'm going to say just a couple of things I need to say just to let things going in the future. So this is the end of the Domain Social on a weekly basis. You know, as we've talked over the last couple of months, there's, you know, a few reasons for it. Part of it is that I'll, you know, be going back to my old job maybe for a little bit. I might take that sabbatical I was talking about and figure something out in the domain industry, but short term, it's my plan. So I can't commit to every single Friday, but because my schedule is flexible, I do want to do more of these one-off panels. That's kind of my goal, was to start doing these panels, turning them into a live Q&A, bring some people on, then stop the recording, share that recording, but after the recording, have more unofficial sort of discussions and keep that going. So that would be one aspect of the social that would continue. But also, I'm going to commit to you know, having one social a month. You know, I think this group is too important to me to really just say it's over. For technical reasons, I had to get rid of, you know, the domainsocial.com as a sort of brand, because of a few weeks after I started using it, another site came up with the in front of it, and sort of people were confused. So that's, you know, always get a good domain name. Rule number one, right? Get that good domain name. So it's all going to be under a Domain Podcast. And so basically the first one, monthly one, even if we're already in September, will be after. So I'll be working with NamesCon after party, like the previous one officially, and like the one before that unofficially, where we had that crazy bidding war for Kettlebell. But yeah, so that will be NamesCon, which is, I want to say it is September 24th is the Friday. So yeah, so the Wednesday, so the NamesCon's 3 days. The Wednesday is the 22nd. That's going to be the rapid fire auction. Thursday is is Monty's auction, who's just here. And then Friday, I'm going to be doing a closing party. Well, we're going to be doing a closing party. Everybody, I hope here will be participating. And you will not necessarily need to be attending NamesCon for that. You will either have to be attending NamesCon or be subscribed to what was formerly the DomainSocial.com mailing list, but now I'll be transferring over to Domain Podcast. So all of you who are on the mailing list previously to the Domain Social will be transferred over to Domain Podcast, the mailing list. If you want out, well, unsubscribe. And if you're not already on it, please do subscribe. Go to DomainPodcast.com. It's the easier one of the two domains to remember. That forwards to the old site for now. Register there. And when I do stuff in the future, as I always do, right before showtime, I send out a link with the Zoom link, email with the Zoom link, and people hop in. And I try to send it out a day or two in advance as well, but I'm not always great at that. However, yeah, so trying to think what else I need to say to people. There's tons of stuff I'm probably forgetting, but I just want to thank everything more than anything else. And really thank Jonathan and Michael. Thank you more than anything else. Like, 'cause it's I'm enjoying this. And I don't see myself. I see some evolution in things, but I don't see myself stopping. And it's really, I think I speak for a lot of people in the industry who've done other things, not just me. That you've planted a seed. Like when you started, was it Sherpa? Was that 2012? I think it was, or 2013. I don't know. I wasn't an active domainer back then. What was that?
2010. I started.
Oh, 2010. So 11 years ago. So when you planted that seed 11 years ago, I'm guessing you didn't realize what would happen now. But like all these awesome friendships that everyone has because of that. So thank you for all that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So what I'm gonna do right now, actually, so I'm gonna stay on YouTube and recording for now. Clubhouse, you're gonna be there for even longer. At some point, maybe 5:30, I will stop the recording and this YouTube stream, but we're gonna keep on going afterwards. So anybody who wants to come on stage, just use the raise hand feature, and I'll bring you up, and we're just gonna have a regular social talk, whatever it is we want to talk about. I might jump in at some point to say some things I forgot to say, like I'm going to say right now. Again, if you enjoyed any element of this week, the purpose of this week was to bring people together, to educate, to have fun. But I deliberately kept it all free because I'd like to, anybody who found any value in this week, go to donate.domainerweek.com. That forwards to GoFundMe page where the list of charities there. I'm going to be splitting whatever is collected there. If you prefer, it's totally fine. I would also tell you, go to domainerweek.com. There's a box at the top of the page that talks about the donations. Look at the charities that are listed there. Just donate to them individually. If you're watching this after the fact and you watch these past, I don't know, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many hours, I didn't count them up. However many hours of YouTube there is, and there was a lot more after hours I didn't record, but however many hours of YouTube, if you found value in it, just domainerweek.com will probably be up until, if I'm ever insane enough to do another one. But go look at those charities or just any other charity of your choice, and email me. Let me know that, it would mean a lot to me to know that, you found some value and you donated to a cause that was important to you. So again, yeah, so go to domainerweek.com. At the top thing, there's Water School. There's, depending where you are, if you're in the United States, Fred Hutchinson, which has always been a charity that Michael's pushed forward. If you're in Canada, Canadian Cancer Society. I have a couple of friends who've been recently hit with cancer, so my heart's out to them. That's why this week was important to me for that reason as well. One of my causes close to my heart is third world education. I think what's happening in Afghanistan with what's going to happen to all these girls who will not, we'll see what happens. But anyway, I don't want to get into that, but it makes third world education will make this whole entire planet a better place to be. There's two ways to do that. You go to you could donate to UNESCO. I like donate. They're one of their, it's one of my charities of choice. However, in the meantime, I've also met some people in the industry with EFK, EFK.org. It's Entrepreneurs for Knowledge. just like Water School, are both charities where the board pay for all the costs. So anything you donate will 100% goes to either making sure there's delivering water products or drilling wells or building schools, whatever it is. So those are two. Your Water School, waterschool.com. I thought it was org. I think they have both though. So Water School and also efk.org is one as well. And finally, our friend and regular Domain Social attendee, Thomas, he's been in the hospital for quite a few weeks now with a serious bout of COVID. On DomainWeek.com, there's a link directly to his GoFundMe. For those of you, remembered he was the in the middle of the first the first Domain Social we did after that first NamesCon, where Drew Rosner and Amar were battling it out over kettlebell.com. So so that was a great one of the many great memories that we had over the last year. So his progress was not great, but it's a notch up from last time I was in communication with him. So his GoFundMe is there. Also, go check DomainWeek.com. And finally, if you're in the domain industry and you're starting to make some money with it, join the ICA. Rewatch Wednesday's session that I did with the ICA crew. Nat, Camila, Zach, they're awesome. And then Zach stayed on to do that dream team of legal experts. Zach Muscovich, Stephen Lieberman, and John Berryhill. Go back, listen to all the rest of the week. I mean, it is a lot of great information there. But yeah, so internetcommerce.org, and you could join up for $25 a month. What they do is they go to these big ICANN meetings and they fight for domainer issues, and all these trademark holders, they try to take away some of our rights in these policy meetings. And the ICA sends Zach, and he's there, and he challenges them, and he fights for policy that makes better sense for us. So if it's within your means, internetcommerce.org, be a member there. There's all other great benefits. Well, we'll be there as well. On that note, again, I'm going to stop rambling. If that's possible for the next few weeks. Michael, I don't know, anything else you wanted to share with anybody, or
no, it looks like Richard and Mike have raised their hands.
Guys, so raise your hands up. Yeah, raise your hands if you want to come up.
I got to spend all week with Mike Gilman every single morning. He and I were on Zoom together chatting about brandable domain names.
Oh yeah,
so that was fun.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? That's kind of funny you mentioned that. That's one thing I wanted to tell everybody is that this week was never intended to be what it was, right? Originally, I was like, I'm going to do a few roundtables with fellow domainers, throughout the week, maybe 3 panels or something like that. And then I was like, okay, well, I had a checklist of topics I wanted to do over the year, because as many of you know, I didn't know when I was going back to work. It was almost a week by week thing. And then now there was a window where I knew that was going to be a little bit longer. And anyways, not to bore you all with the details, is that this week was pretty much the only week that made sense to do something of any period of time. And also with potentially going back to work and working every second Friday, it was time to make that big change the brand, change the vision a little bit of the socials. And so September 3rd was really, it made sense to end it. And my plan was to do a few panels in between, and I wasn't too sure. And then when Friday the 13th, exactly 3 weeks ago tonight, I'm listening in a clubhouse room, and Mike announces that during this week he's doing a brandables course, right? And with Keith, and I'm like, oh, I heard him say that. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not.
Wait a second. What did he just say?
Yeah. I'm not gonna. First of all, I'm not gonna compete with Mike because first of all, he's my friend. But I wouldn't. Even if it wasn't my friend, I'm like, I'm not gonna go up against Mike when he's doing a training week. And so again, we reached out in friendship. I go, Mike, did I get the dates right? What are you doing? And he told me, yeah, I'm doing another training session a week long, but the sessions end at 1:00 p.m. my time. I think for you it's 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But for 1:00, and so at that point, I was thinking of starting things slowly at noon, opening the room, and then having the first session start at 12:30. But it was like, so it's only a half-hour difference. So I was like, oh, perfect. It works out perfectly. And then I wanted Mike on and also Keith on, and they were closing the registration on the Friday. And so obviously they sold out in a day, right? But I didn't know that. I was like, okay, well, we'll get you on the Thursday and Friday before, so help maybe if to get the final push to get people in. And so then I wanted you on part of this week, and I wanted Keith on as part of the week. So I go, okay, I'll put Keith on the Friday, and I'll add an extra day, because I'm just that crazy,
not?
right? Yeah, why not? I already have an 8-day week. Why not
days.
9-day week? And then and that was it. And that was 3 weeks ago. And then again, I reached out to more and more people in the industry, and I'm going to really try hard not to name names because there's so many people that it would just take me forever. But I reached out and people said yes. And then there was, the scheduling conflicts and this and that. So what was meant to be roundtables, some people got split up and one-on-ones. And I'm so happy it turned out that way because it went for an awesome mix of things. But yeah, so 3 weeks ago today, this week was supposed to be maybe, well, I was almost ready to not do it. And then I made the decision, okay, Mike is doing it before 1. I'm going to do this week. And it was going to be like maybe a handful of panels. I had a list of topics I wanted to do, but I never dreamed that everybody would say yes. And, there was some people had scheduling conflicts, but overall it was everybody was like super welcoming, super helpful. It made it like this week to me is just been a treasure. It's been just awesome. So I'm going to try not to get too sentimental. Anybody wants to come up on stage, put your hand up. Just keep in mind that we're recorded and we're on YouTube. And at a certain point when it makes sense, I'll stop doing that. If not too many people want to come up, I'll stop the recording sooner. But yeah, anybody wants to come up in the social, just put your hands up. Here you go. Welcome, David and Mike are here.
Come on, there. Jason's coming up.
Yeah,
I see a bunch of people. It's probably not cool to call them out, but now that I'm up on the stage, I see everybody that was a part of the socials for so many months. Come on up. Especially somebody that starts with the letter Z that I see down there. It wouldn't have been a social if we didn't have all those people on.
Exactly. I mean, to me, that's this year has, there's tons of information, but I've met so many new friends, it's been fantastic. It's just been
hello, Frank.
Hello, Frank.
Hello, everyone.
Can we get a hello? Yeah, thank you.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah.
Zesty.
Hey, gangs.
Hey, Leonard.
I was saying nice haircut, Mike G, but I should have just said nice seeing you, Mikes.
Exactly. And we should reminisce back to the original quarantine socials where Zesty Queen became the zest that she is today.
Yes, crashed your party and then been addicted to you guys ever since.
I know, you crashed the party and you dove in head first and haven't looked back. I think one of the first, what was it like? Was zestysprings.com the first time you started chatting in the social and you're like, what do you think about this domain name? I just registered it. And suddenly you became the Zesty Queen.
Yeah. Well, I had chatted before. I was too shy to hop on. So the first 2 socials, I guess I was just chatting and not being seen and not talking.
Yeah.
But then the third one, I decided to dive in and, oh my God, an explosion of zest from everybody, opinions. And I loved how people got into it. And
every week we are looking forward to you showing up to talk about what you're doing to outbound it, where you have it listed. And then, just watch your whole progression in the domain name industry, how you focused in on brandable domain names, how you got more and more domains on Brand Bucket or Squad Help or wherever you were listing them. And yeah, it's been fun to meet you, Zesty, and, get to know you better and see you week after week on the socials.
Oh my God. And Michael, I cannot ever, thank you again. Do you remember the list I sent you when you told me send me your list of domain names?
I don't.
I hope you erased that email because it haunts me.
Should I go look it up in my email and read it to the group?
It haunts me to this day. And I was like, oh my God.
See, this is the funny thing about this industry. I have plenty of those types of emails when I was brand new, where I emailed somebody in the industry. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this domain name? I specifically remember walking into a conference and there was a broker next to me, and the broker had a certain domain name that I remembered they had just sold. And I'm like, I have the exact same domain name, but it's got an extra word. Do you want to represent it? Right. And so we've all been down the same path. We've all taken the same journey. And yes, now that you mentioned that, I am going to go look up exactly what you emailed me. No, I won't. I'll do it later.
I just feel that after you got this list is when maybe you had thought of this concept before, but the accelerator was like born out of, I think, you seeing my list, seeing potential in me, seeing my terrible domains. And, am I correct thinking I inspired the accelerator?
If you like that, yes, you are correct. If that makes you feel good, yes. I don't remember, to be honest with you, but it was great having you in the accelerator. You were in the first batch, right?
Yeah.
The very first batch. In fact, you got like, I sent you special gifts because you found so many typos and discrepancies in the course that nobody else has found. You found like 99% of them.
Yeah, you got me the Eagle Eyes trophy.
Yeah, the Eagle Eyes trophy.
I treasure it to this day in my mug.
Mike, whether you realize her list or not, she incepted the idea for the accelerator course into your brain.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. Because you were like this poor girl. I mean, she has potential as a human being. As a domainer, she needs help. I think that's what.
Oh, zesty. Yeah, there's just certain things when you're learning that you just need to be in person for, that you can't read it and type it. You need to verbalize it and then realize what you said may or may not make sense or whatever. People learn in different ways. And yes, you inspired me to launch the very first accelerator.
Voila, it has been said and recorded.
All right, so if anybody doesn't know what the accelerator is, it's an 8-week program where I try and force function you through the DN Academy course. We meet every week for an hour and a half. We go over about 50 minutes of course material. Then we have open Q&A where you get access to me or Jason Shepard, who's now the lead instructor of the accelerator, or both of us. And then we send you off to go do homework, another 1/8 of the course. And then we come back and we repeat the whole thing. And you get to network with people and you get to do some real life, via Zoom interactions with small groups and get to know people. And so that's what the accelerator is. You can go to dnacademy.com/accelerator to find out when we're going to offer the next one. We have a wait list up on that page right now. Zesty was in the first batch. We have now completed 3 batches. And just like yelling Beetlejuice, there is Jason Shepard.
There he is.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Jason.
Phenomenal investor and lead instructor of the DN Academy Accelerator.
So
welcome,
hello, everybody.
Hey.
So Jason, today we were finishing up the last class of the Brandable Boot Camp. Mike Gilman joined us for the week, and which you joined in and audited last time we ran the boot camp. And we were like 30 minutes in, I think, Mike G, right? And suddenly Keith froze. And then he just completely vanished. I'm like, what the heck just happened to Keith? And the funny thing about Keith, I love Keith. He's very unique in this industry. He does not own a cell phone. In fact, he doesn't even have a phone, which just, I want to bow down and pray to Keith in today's day and age. To not have a phone is phenomenal. Like, right? Just talk about like the zen of life without a phone, without social media on your phone, all that sort of stuff. And so I'm like, well, I guess our lead instructor just had a power outage or something, lost his internet. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just instruct the last part of this class because, we came up with the content together, mostly him, but we put it together as a group. And then, so I bumbled my way through the rest of the last class, did some Q&A. And then as soon as we concluded the course, Mike Gilman, I got an email from Keith saying, I'm at Starbucks. Is the course over?
Oh my gosh.
So somebody had I guess hit a power pole with their car, knocked out power to his whole area. And yeah, he didn't have a cell phone to get on the backup for.
Wow.
But I think we did okay.
Mike, it's so funny you say that because when I heard his podcast saying he was going to be off the grid for a little while, for the next 4 to 6 weeks traveling for the summer. I mean, I've spoken to Keith, and after being on his podcast, he mentioned to me, I tried reaching out to you, but he's like, I don't have a cell phone. I don't have this. And I was like, so I sent him an email, and then I was like, I don't know how to contact you. And then I was just like, we'll get back in touch in 6 to 8 to 12.
Yeah, exactly. I'll talk to you in 6 to 8 weeks. No big deal.
You think you have discipline, Mike? You're just running a marathon. He can go without a phone in America. What?
That is crazy. And he totally took off for the summer, right? He took his weeks off, and he's just going and living off the grid or whatever he's doing. Keith is my idol. I think that, and maybe some of you are well, I don't know. I like
He's pretty cool.
I like my warm bed at night, and I like being able to pick up the phone and call my friends or get onto social media. I'm but there's something about that, just going into wilderness and not having any access. And, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable enough with myself to do that, to focus that much on me.
But Mike, one step further, right? Awesome. Not only none of us could do that, as a domain investor, not being able to have a cell phone, he has to be in front of his computer to track these names and buy these names and not be at auctions attached and bidding. So, I mean, as incredible as it is that as this domain investor, when I proposed to my wife in Disneyland years ago, I was waiting online, and I was making deals. I was working for .club, but could you imagine? I mean, I couldn't, not even having a cell phone to bid at GoDaddy auctions or to email someone. So
I know, isn't that crazy?
Touche.
Yeah, but you know what? He's got the kind of business model where most of his domain names are in a marketplace with a buy it now price, and he's just going to let them do their work, earn their commission. And if he doesn't buy domains for a couple of weeks, no big deal. Jason's done that, and he lived to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can go without buying, but I don't want to miss any sales.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel the same way as you, Jason. I remember, I still distinctly remember the day that I had taken my family down to California, and we were doing some sightseeing. We were down by the beach. It was hot. The kids wanted ice cream. So we went into this outdoor mall area, and we were waiting in line for ice cream. And Ollie Zandy, many of you know Ollie from the days when he was a broker at Flippa and a broker on his own. And he texted me, and he's like, Mike, I've got tulip.com. Do you want it? And I look at my phone, and I'm sort of looking out of the side of my eye, trying to hide my phone from my wife, because she has already said we are on vacation. This is not the time to work. And I'm like, sweetie, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. So I go to the bathroom. I'm texting with Ollie, how much? And I'm like, I'll take it. Right. And Tulip turned out to be one of my best investments ever. If you can buy a single flower that's popular, that's just money in the bank. And I'm like, I'll take it. He's like, great, send me the money. I'm like, dude, my wife is going to divorce me if I try and send you money right this very second. I need 2 hours to get back home, or, get to my computer where I can do a pay the escrow or whatever, send a wire. So yeah, I totally feel that, Jason, where sometimes you just need to be by your phone in front of your computer to get deals done.
Ali Sandy, who's like, such an inspiration. He seemed to have been like a bit off the grid too for a while. Now he's back on Twitter. It's cool.
Yeah,
No,
he's back.
Oh, is he back on? He was he was great on when he was with you on some of these old the old Sherpas. I didn't know he's back on. I know he went to Hawaii for a bit and was quiet for a bit.
Sorry, Ollie's doing well. I chatted with him a month or two ago, maybe a few months ago. He's still doing a little bit of domain names, working in some new areas, high tech still. It seems like he's doing really well. So it's nice to, even though he's not in the forefront of the domain name industry anymore, he's still playing in the game.
Yeah.
He invented the NFTs. That's why he's been off the grid.
maybe.
Actually, you know what? I remember there's one episode. There was one episode of Sherpa where he acquired a whole bunch of, it was VRGF, right? Virtual reality girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that's coming up soon, right? The whole NFT space is gonna evolve into all kinds of weird and wonderful things, including possibly that. I don't know,
Yeah, I wonder if he
that's
still
the
owns that one.
luxury of domain names, right? Like he had a nice exit from Flippa. He was able to pull that whole, off the grid kind of thing off, and he knows what he knows, and now he's back in. And Jason Shepard was able to get away from domains without buying for a while. He had a nice exit of a nice portfolio. And, I think Keith DeBoer, like Michael just said, it's working on your business, not in your business. And when you could get to that point, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what do you guys think the future holds? Domains versus NFTs. You who are completely, tech savvy, there's always going to be a space for domain, but the way it's going with the blockchain and decentralization and the NFTs, do you think this is really the avenue of the future?
I don't think it's an either or. I think domains have a very specific and important utility, right? They bring people to your business. They help you communicate with the people who want to do business with you. NFTs is more of a blockchain technology is more of an application. There's going to be a lot of, as I talked before with Monty about the music industry, it's going to be able to micro payments and all kind. We're just at the dawn, right? It's not just these. Which the part that I don't understand, these apes selling for $1 million or whatever it is, which I think I don't get. I think there's going to be a big bubble element to that component of it. However, domains, which I don't want to drift too much from domains. At least until midnight tonight. After this week is over, we can drift a little bit more. But yeah, I think domains are going to be like phone numbers, right? People thought, internet at some point nobody's going to need a phone number. But you still need your emails, you still need all these other things. And even if there's something new coming up, there's going to be a very, very long transition period, so
NFTs are dead.
There you go.
And our friend in the industry just sold this one for 2.2 million.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. Every NFT project I've looked at had a website. So, I mean,
Yeah,
there you go.
Whether it's, they may not pay up front because they don't have the money on the front end to get the best website.
Yep.
But a lot of these, the roadmaps for a lot of these have long-term prospects. And so because the contracts are written in a way that there is recurring revenue when these things are sold between other people, there may be down the road that the projects that have that gain the most traction do find themselves in a situation where they want to upgrade their domain to a better one because they do have ongoing future revenue and future plans for the community that they build around that particular NFT.
Yeah, and I think the interaction, the coming together of domains and this technology, which is coming, right? There is going to be some interesting stuff there as well, right? It's going to be, oh my gosh. You go back and listen to Saturday's panel, the blockchain one that that Jocelyn really helped me put together. He did, like, as I said, 98% of the work for that. These guys there. Speaking of which, one of them just showed up right now. But these guys there, they are the pioneers, and actually that discussion got a little bit heated. But what they don't understand is that they're all working together to build the foundation of something that's going to be transformational to the world. Like, it's going to be, a lot of things are going to interact on the blockchain, do things that right now people don't really see, right? Like I said, like just these GIFs going around, it's that's nothing compared. There's going to be all these virtual worlds, and as I was saying with Monty, these fractionalized payments and all kinds of stuff that will really stimulate, I guess, art and just content. Because when I got my website, again, it was a music website. I had big name DJs and their producers send me music to share, and it was kind of like, that's why I never say the name, because it was kind of like, it was an iffy point, but because the music wasn't really commercial music, everybody was kind of okay with it. And I even got, like, the biggest complaint I got was from one of these back then there was 5 of these big sort of music companies. Now there's whittled down to 3, or maybe not even, but there was one of the executives from that one of those big labels wrote me saying, very politely and almost apologetically, if you don't mind, could you please take down this song from your site until it gets released, which was like 2 weeks later. So it was like, okay, so basically you're telling me you're okay with everything else except that you just want me to wait 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, but that was the thing. That was back like around 2000, 2001, and that's when things were progressing on the internet. And then I think the biggest barricade for music and for artists and for content creators, writers, whatever it is on the internet, for me, has always been the big tragedy of the lack of a proper micropayment system, where you could go to somebody's article, read the article, and it would cost you like 3 cents or half a cent or whatever it is. They could charge you, and if they got a lot of people reading, they could make a living off of that, right? Because on the internet, you can scale, you can have volume. It's not, you don't need to print a physical magazine and pay the van to ship it, or the plane to ship it to wherever else, and pay for the newsstand and all these things, and all that stuff. It was just the fact there was no micropayments in the initial years of the internet. Really, I think it hurt the potential. And what's coming now, again, with these, go back and listen to Saturday. These gentlemen that were there are people creating infrastructure that is going to change the world, and again, in ways we can't even imagine.
Hey, Arif, not to get off subject, but from one Jason to another. So based on that fact, I mean, we've all been brainwashed, right? All the roads lead to domains, right? No,
the other day I said most roads lead to domains, and at least one of them leads to the Bored Ape Yacht Club. At least one of them.
Whether I'm not saying you're brainwashing us, but all roads lead to domains. So on that note, I mean, listen, a lot of us are .com maximalists or whatever. But I guess my question is, like, whether the world is moving in a digital aspect is undeniable. And the Bored Apes and yada, yada, they all need domains, right? So with that NFT space, what are your thoughts on, the .com alternative extensions or the .cryptos of the world? Like, a lot of them like .io, but a lot of us invest in .io, .com, .net, .org, but a lot of us don't invest in .crypto or the new space or the handshake. So where do you see that industry trending towards, based off your experience?
Well, from an investment standpoint, I think that you're going to be, I mean, I have seen that they do gravitate toward .io. One of the things that I know a lot of domainers do is the Z run, and their domain is z.run. I mean, it's a virtual horse racing ecosystem. and they're on a .run, which I don't know that I necessarily knew existed until I saw them.
Of course
I
they
think,
do.
I
You
think
know about
Siger
my
started
stuff,
that. Siger started that.
Yes, that horse now is worth a lot of money now.
Yeah.
Siger started the run.
Yeah. So you know, the virtual horse world might bring, like Zesty said, who knows? We might see dot horse make a resurgence, and all the jokes we've been making about dot horse the entire time of the social could have been prophetic.
They will get the last laugh on us.
Yes.
Exactly.
But as investors, I mean, we could speculate on speculation, right? Like, I mean, listen, a lot of people would say domain investing is speculation, right? So if we could speculate less like Rick Schwartz, like let's speculate in the .com space. Some of us will tread the waters in IO and whatever extension suits you. But for this new venture in this crypto NFT, are they going to utilize our DNS system, or do they not care and they're just like .io investors don't want a .com, right? Like a lot of these guys. Will these crypto investors not want anything that's on the DNS?
I mean, I don't think we're at that point where you could say that about NFTs that are looking to gain mainstream acceptance. I think in general that if I had to guess without doing any research or any polling, that the average NFT buyer is probably aware that there are alternative TLDs, whereas I don't know that we're at a point where you can say that 8 out of 10, consumers in middle America know that .io exists. I think that, that's why we have things like email leakage. But from a standpoint of, is it going to get to a point where they shun the DNS? I think that we're a ways away from that.
You're a ways away. NFT is built on crypto, and that's a much younger crowd. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. As people buy NFTs with crypto, price of crypto goes up, so they have more money, and they go buy more NFTs or other alternative assets. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But one thing that kind of dawned on me while we were having this discussion is, and I don't know the details, but wasn't Rick Schwartz, or didn't he originally do like custom phone numbers, or was there somebody else in the industry?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, honestly, as we look at things progressing, one of the premier people in the industry, Rick Schwartz, I mean, a phone number is a digital asset in a sense. And so we're just talking about whether it's NFTs or domains or digital or phone numbers. These are just digital assets. You can't put your hand on them, but they have value. And so, I think, Shane had said that domainers are built for this NFT stuff because we understand that there can be value to something you can't touch. And I think that, Rick Schwartz has shown that, if you were in the industry where you were selling phone numbers prior to domains, you knew that there was value in something you couldn't touch. And so whether it's an NFT or whether it's crypto or whether it's a domain name or a phone number or whatever's next, whether it's a Twitter handle, which, I realize that Twitter handles, Facebook handles, and Instagram handles, that's kind of a gray area because you're skirting the terms of service, but all of these things are digital assets with value. And if you understand that they do have value, I think you can adapt to them, whether it's a domain name or an NFT or a social media handle.
Absolutely, Jason. And that's kind of why I asked you the question. I mean, you have your thumb on the pulse when you're not, traveling the world in your Mustang convertible. But I think that's to the point, right? So a lot of us in the domain space, whether we've been in it a year, 2 years, or 20 years, we see ourselves as holding assets that are invaluable. And now, I mean, listen, I don't own any apes. I'm just saying, like, we have kind of seen a paradigm shift where people are making millions and billions of dollars in this other space. And listen, all the power to them, but how, my question, I guess, is, if I could reframe it in the clubhouse, so to speak, my question is, how could us domain investors best position ourselves for this new digital venture? Is that in the, I mean, listen, all roads lead to domains, but we know .com is king, whether we could argue it or not. There are other viable options, but now how far outside of our original viable options do we need to go? Do we need to go to the .crypto? Do we need to go to the handshake, or time tell? I mean, I know none of us are genies, but I'm just asking whoever has the most experience on this panel, you know?
Well, I think Mike Seiger might be the only one, or the only one I know of here that has sold a handshake domain for a profit, right? Didn't you sell something? I mean, I know there have been others that have done it. I'm just saying,
yeah, plenty of others have sold.
But you're the only person here that I know has done that, because the only handshake domain I have is one that Alvin Brown gifted to me. And so, I don't play in that space, but I think that, I mean, Josh mentioned on the panel with Mike and I the other day, he's an opportunist, and that's the same with me. If there's an opportunity, I want to take it. And
we sold some.
When it gets, we
sold some handshakes.
Okay, wait. Yeah. So let me re-ask my question. So I think we're all opportunists, right? Some of us more, some of us less. But as domain investors, we're not entrepreneurs. We're opportunists, right? What we do with that opportunity is up to the individual. So I guess is like, how do we spread our investment or our focus with our blinders? Because in the last 20 years, it's been .com. In the last 10 years, it's been GTLDs. And now there's just so many more options for us to spread our opportunism into. So how could we best focus our blinders? And just not saying you're a fortune teller, but based on your past experience, knowledge, how are you harnessing down your blinders, I guess, is my question to everyone on the panel, not just you.
Well, I think, go for it, Jason.
I think that when something like .io establishes itself, as I feel like it has, that the opportunities are going to mirror what happened with .com. So at first it was singular, one word .ios that brought a premium and still do, and that they sell at retail higher. But I think that because .io has gotten the traction that it has and has stuck around for the number of years, I think you will see that strong two-word combinations will start to have value in that. Now, how to harness this for domains? I mean, with NFTs and everything shifting. I mean, I think that what you're going to see is something that's investable in .com will eventually be investable in .io and possibly .co and some of these others. I mean, we've seen that with one word and generics already, but I think that if you look back at what became investable in .com as all the generics and the one words got taken, will probably become investable in these alternative extensions, even if they're not quite there yet. Again, I'm not a fortune teller, but that would be my prediction, and that is kind of what I'm doing with these extensions now.
Yeah, I think the analogy of physical real estate makes sense. If you look at Los Angeles from 1940s and 50s, it was this teeny little town And then suddenly more and more people started moving there and started expanding, right? So these towns and cities that surrounded Los Angeles weren't worth anything. And suddenly now they're worth, more in some cases. And I think that's sort of the .com to the .io, the .co, the .io, and .xyz that we're starting to see some traction in and single words. And I think that it will continue to grow as more and more people and companies come onto the internet and have more business needs for it. Much like Jason was talking about. But I think back to your original question, Jason, if I interpreted it correctly, what I would say is like, where's the best place for us as entrepreneurs or as opportunists to take advantage of opportunities really has to do with our risk profile, right? Like my risk profile is much different than yours because I know I'm older than you and going to be retiring sooner. It is much different than Chad's in Ardell, where he's taking assets and fractionalizing them and putting his money in harm's way in order to try and advance a certain investment opportunity. And so I think it has to do with, what your risk profile is. I think some people are more riskier than others. Not in a bad way. Some people have a higher risk tolerance and are willing to take a higher risk to get larger gains. And that's what we're seeing with people in the NFTs, like, that Bored Ape that just sold for $2.2 million, right? That takes a high risk profile, a high risk tolerance to be able to put your money in harm's way when we all agree that the bottom of the NFT could fall out at any moment. But, if you're getting in there and you're monitoring it and you're doing your day trading and you're seeing what's going on, and you're willing to accept that risk, you can get some pretty big gains. I know that there's plenty of investors that are trying their hand in a whole bunch of different projects, and a lot of them are making money. I, listened to part of the Domain Sherpa this week where JT talked about how he lost some money on one of his, and I'm sure that's happening a lot as well, where people get in, maybe they sold it for the same amount, so they lost their gas fees, a few $100s in getting in and getting out, but they probably learned something in the process as well. And so, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to what's your risk tolerance. My risk tolerance is low enough that I'm not going to get into NFTs. I know domain names work. I'm sticking with my investments in domain names. The bottom's not going to fall out as far as I can tell. And so, I think it just comes down to you and what your profile is.
Yeah, Mike. So I just want to take the other side of that real quick because, I think, your risk tolerance is higher when you're younger, right? So it obviously depends on your financial. Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So I should reframe. Your risk tolerance varies, but all of us here on this call are domain investors. So it all is coming back to, DN Academy and how far should we spread our roots from why we're here on this social? How much, listen, my question isn't how much do we believe in blockchain but as investors, right? Like we said, .com is king. You can't deny what's been happening in the domain space, but as domainers, we can't ignore what's happening in the crypto and NFT space. So as domain investors, how do we best proceed with being domain investors in the crypto NFT space? And does that mean we need to learn Handshake? Does that mean we need to learn the .c, .crypto? Or, I've listened to everyone's previous concerns that they don't resolve, but the money that's being made from Domain Sherpa that we've heard from those guys can't be ignored either. So I guess that's kind of just what I'm throwing out there.
So
I've got, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just wondering, is it too late to get in the game? Like the people who bought the apes in January or February, they're well off, right? If you want to get in this game now, you're buying really high.
Yeah, and here's it. So to make the comparison, Jason, I don't think they're quite the same thing, right? The blockchain domains to me are fascinating in that they'll be able to bring value to people who use them in certain technological ways that will be developed over time. Like again, what Monty was talking about integrating certain monetization things into it and whatnot. In terms of them being investable, I'm a little bit skeptical on them actually having resale value unless you have the like the NGDLTs, unless you have the top ones. I'm not so sure about, and it's not, for me, it's not really about that. Like my view on them, my interest in them is not so much as a domain investor as it is just somebody who's interested in what's coming up in the future, right? And there will be things there that will help companies leverage their presence online through digitization and stuff like that will help them make more money. And there'll be value to people who use these things. But in terms of the actual domains, with the exception of very few, and some will have value, some will be very good, I'm not so sure how investable they are, right? So if those of you looking to jump in as investment, I would be skeptical, because like, again, these Bored Apes, it's not really about the NFTs, why they're going up in value, right? It's a social club and everybody wants to be part of it, right? And it's like saying, oh, I'm part of the hottest group around, right? And the more people buy into it, the more the price goes up, the more value it brings to itself. At a certain point in time, it might be counterproductive. It might take the opposite end where people are saying, well, look, you're flaunting yourselves being a part of $1 million club that nobody can be a part of, right? There might be a backlash there, but that's specific to that unique one, right? And then everything else in terms of all these other things coming up, some are good, some are bad. Again, it's what value it brings. I don't think there's much value in the actual piece of the GIF or GIF or whatever you want to call it. There's some there. Like I know somebody who again who's creating something and it's really cool. The project's really cool, and if you can make it like a cool sort of community aspect of it, then I think there can be value, right? I think at a certain point there'll be so many of them that if it's only just an image, there'll be literally tens to hundreds of millions of these things in 5 years from now, right? And so the value of each one will be so diluted unless whoever's building whatever it is brings enhanced value. And there's gonna be more technology coming in. Like you're gonna see these things interacting with each other. It'll go from a standard image to video to interactive sort of algorithms where you can actually talk to them and whatever it is. Like all this stuff is going to get more and more complex as time goes by. However, the fact that they're digital makes them like very the uniqueness won't be there, right? It won't be like the baseball cards in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s where there's only a certain amount, right? It'll be more like after the fact where you had the baseball cards, but then you had like 50,000 different companies who had each their own baseball line and saturated the market, and the value went down. So, but it doesn't mean that they're not cool, they're not fun, and there's not a utility there. Like I said, the utility that's going to come out of these things is going to be insane. Like I can't imagine it. I'm imagining things that are really cool in my head. I think it's whatever we're imagining is the tip of the iceberg. With music, I think it's going to be amazing. You'll have artists who will actually be able to start making some money again. The lower tier artists. I think that's going to be fantastic. You'll be able to charge people 5 cents a song, but based on volume, they'll actually maybe start to be able to make a living off of it. Which up until now has not been the case for the music industry, right? So all these changes hopefully will make for a world where creativity will actually be able to be monetized a little bit, and people will actually be able to make a living being an artist. You won't have starving artists living in their mom's basement anymore, or whatever it may be. So yeah.
So what I wanted to say on this was, I feel like the best thing everyone can do is to try and get as much information as they can on NFTs, whatever it is that you're interested in. I feel like that's what people should look into. For instance, I've got no interest in Bored Apes. I mean, it's just not my thing. I can understand why some people like that. They like to be in the club. I totally get it. But for instance, yesterday I listened to a podcast called Invest Like the Best, and they were basically talking about NFTs in the gaming world. And there's so much you can learn from how people use NFTs in the gaming world. It's like they were talking about basically people who were in the Philippines, and basically they were playing games basically to earn money, and they were basically earning these NFTs, whether they're skins and stuff like that that look cool in the game, or whether they have a utility. So they were building these whole ecosystems around the game, okay, and the utility of the NFTs. It was like the NFTs were independent of the game, and they could be transferred between different games. They could be even transferred into the physical world. You could even exchange, again, if you wanted, the tokens that they were earning in the game for US dollars. So people were earning like 10 times the amount they would earn in their traditional job in a country like the Philippines, which isn't, of course, one of the richest countries in the world. But they created all of these ecosystems around it. And that really opened up my eyes more to the value of NFTs. I think what people are talking about in terms of Bored Apes is a very narrow view, because that's more of the view, about having something cool that, obviously there's some utility there, but there isn't that much utility. But it's more about status, having something that you think is cool, being in a club. But there are different forms of NFT and different models that people can have around these NFTs that haven't even been touched upon. They were even mentioning Decentraland as well on this podcast, and talking about people buying. Obviously, I'd heard of it before, but I mean, this kind of made it even a bit more concrete. People buying, like virtual real estate, inside this metaverse or meta world or whatever you want to call it. And, people could, for instance, sell advertising on there to big companies. Facebook is one of the companies that, already is betting on the metaverse. And you're going to have all of these companies there who are basically fighting for, some type of digital real estate or time in the metaverse. So when I like to look at NFTs, I like to consider it more in that context, because I feel like that's a lot more of the bigger thing than when we just consider these Bored Apes. It's more like, I just feel like the Bored Apes is a very narrow view of it. I don't feel like NFTs are going anywhere. What Arif mentioned about musicians and artists earning money from them, that you totally see. You see people paying ridiculous amounts for experiences or first versions of whatever it be, a music album or whatever it be. People are prepared to pay that, of their favorite artists. So I think Ruth McCartney mentioned it as well. I mean, she's obviously someone who, when she came a few months ago, she's obviously someone who is on the pulse and in that industry. So, I mean, you can be pretty sure what she was saying is no fad, It's definitely here to stay. It's just about how it evolves and in what form. So I feel like everyone needs to be informed about it and try and understand about different areas they have interest in. I'm interested in games. I'm interested in music. I've got no interest in JPEGs or Bored Apes. I'm interested in blockchain as a technology because I'm a tech guy. I own some crypto because I find it interesting too, and I consider it a store of value. So whatever you're interested in, that's where you need to go, and you need to consider what your risk profile is as well. How much money are you prepared to diversify whatever you're investing in. I think it's just a standard thing, And I would say that NFTs are an investment because, again, in this podcast, the guy that was talking about a game called Axie Infinity, and they were basically a investment fund that invested on people who basically were creating NFTs and the whole ecosystem and everything. So they considered it to be a legitimate investment. And they could describe themselves as the Berkshire Hathaway of NFT or video games or whatever you want to call it, really. So, if people like that consider it to be an investment, there's definitely, some long-term investment potential there. I'm not telling everyone to buy a Bored Ape, but I don't know about that. But I mean, in general, in NFTs, they're definitely investable. You just have to pick the right platforms that you consider to be valuable.
Yeah. All right. So I didn't want to dive down too much to NFT rabbit hole, and I just hadn't checked YouTube in a while. So there is a.
I'd like to jump on that real quick because it's not about the NFT. It's how you use NFTs with domains to create additional value.
That's a topic.
So it's two digital assets, and when they know how to communicate, so somebody mentions, content is king, but then everybody says .com is king. Distribution is King Kong, right? So when tokens have distribution and liquidity, you have to look at, okay, tokens have distribution and liquidity, that is King Kong, right? So now with domains, you have more structured, centralized processes and different strengths to that business model and an asset class. So how do those two come together? How we use tokens and domains is, we just bought Carbon Challenge, and we're doing like Axie, but instead of a play to earn, it's a play to own. And so we're trying to build an autonomous play to own and environmental impact game that uses the URL for distribution, but it uses the token for management and enforcement and the other stuff. So the two really work hand in hand, not the opposite way around.
But is that on the DNS as we know it, or is that on ENS or something else?
Well, you can do DNS on ENS now. It's a DNS security issue. So that's done. You can go get it, and you can go send crypto to your .com. It's a little harder, but so all those naming chains and systems, right? They're all finding their way. I mean, that IO is already in ICANN and in the root zone servers. So those assets, like with Monty and .hip hop and these other ones, are there, and then those are EVM compatible or smart contract compatible. But yeah, again, we're digital assets. It's a good thing for domains, not a bad thing. And there's a lot of people that are building industry winning games and stuff like that. So again, like Axie, and the token and the protocols are getting smarter and better. So again, domains are going to have to elevate, but they still have a good architecture.
Yeah.
Well, even
distribution.
Sotheby's, the big auction house, has integrated NFT, and that's, I think, a huge statement. Sotheby's, that auction house.
They did.
Like diamonds
they did one. What was the big one they did last year? Was $60 million or something like that? Was it last year? Or was it this year? I don't even.
That was Christie's, and that was the Beeple, I think.
Yeah, it was like 60 million or something like that, more or less. That was this year. Or was that last year?
It was last year. It was 600 million, and it was a Beeple that was sold to Christie's. It was a collection of all of his works from every day.
Wait, 600 million or 60 million?
I think it was 600.
There's $2 trillion liquid in the system, and those people are risk takers. Domainers are risk takers. Crypto people that are whales and stuff, man, those guys are even taking bigger. Like those are bigger risk takers because there's $2 trillion in liquidity that can move around.
Yeah.
That's no joke. However it happens, whatever you want to call it, it's moving. The Christie's and all those other companies have to get into it. Banks are changing because it is disrupting, and those people are not waiting around to disrupt. And that's what's happening.
Or if you're right, it was 69 million is what the Beeple's first 5,000 days.
Which is still at least a zero more, and a couple of zeros more than I would think. But that's you
can get the B20 token too, the Beeple token, the B20. And then now, so the B20 token, those tokens went out before these guys with the apes. So if you really want to study this stuff, study the protocols that went out first, second, third, fourth. And these are compounding protocols based on the history of the old ones. And like those guys did it kind of first. So just so these protocols are taking from other examples of other protocols.
Yeah. So I was going to change topic a little bit. I have a question on YouTube. It's from Michael. Question is, does Michael have his mustache ready for the marathon?
I do have my mustache ready. I have a big white mustache, like a Monopoly Man mustache, that I am going to be wearing hopefully during my marathon, the New York City Marathon, November 7th. I only have to raise $400 more, and you will see me donning this mustache for my race. And if you want to be a contributor to my marathon and to the charity that I've chosen to fundraise for and raise awareness for, you can go to mike.run. Don't go to z.run and bet on Jason's horses. Come to mike.run. And any donation amount is greatly appreciated. But yeah, $400 more to hit $20,000 goal for the marathon. And I'm pretty excited about it.
I gotta say, you're looking pretty good.
Thanks.
Doing a lot of running, is that it?
Well, I'm ramping up. I've got another 12 or 13 weeks before the marathon, so I'm going to be ramping up. And so far it's feeling good.
Nice. So yeah, as I put I created a poll. I didn't realize that everybody in the panel cannot vote in the poll, which is kind of weird. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm after this past week, I'm thinking maybe nothing grand in scale, although many people want to come, maybe up. But yeah, just while we're still on YouTube, for the last year I've been joking around a lot about we got to meet up at some point, and there just might be other events between now and then. I want to make sure that would be done in a safe manner, but and nothing. Again, I would scale it up as I'm happy if there's 5 people and we just go for drinks all the time. But I'm thinking Montreal 2022. I've said it many times. I think after this week is kind of be something fun. So I just I put the poll up there. But if any guys are would be interested, let me know. It would either be the week after our big Formula One weekend, the week before Jazz Fest, which is the week that straddles June and July, or the week after that. So it would be like the first full week of July, last full week of June, or like the third week of June, or the second full.
Hey, RF, I can't vote. So
I know what I'm saying.
Not invited.
So no, because the panelists can't vote. That's why I'm saying it verbally now. So just if anybody's interested in that, let me know. I don't know. This week has made me want to meet up with you guys and whatever. It's again nothing. If there's 10 of us, I'm happy with that. Dusty's in Montreal too, so I'm sure she'll help me out with that or whatever.
Hey, brother, born and raised in New York.
Oh, you've been to Montreal a few times.
Montreal is my second favorite city next to New York. I used to drive up there all the time, and we had some of the wildest times. But we're not here to talk about that. So I am in, but I can't vote.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, Frank, I'm not trying to do a big event thing. I mean, it's if there's 10 of us and we just hang out at restaurants a few times a week and whatever it is, that's why I want to do it either after the Formula One weekend. People could come for that, or the week before or after our massive Jazz Fest here. People could do that as well. So it was just more of a meetup, and if there was a lot of more people, then we could be more organized. As you've seen this past week, things are scalable. We can go from a couple small little things to something a little bit more organized in a little bit of time. Especially if I actually have enough time to ask for help this time. But I just wanted to mention that because the poll was up. But again, everybody in the panel can't vote, so there's these little quirks of Zoom are there. So there's that. What else did I want to say? Yeah. So I think that's around it. Keep going for a bit, I guess. Anybody?
I wanted to say something. Hi.
Yeah.
I'm an artist and a domainer. I've been a sculptor who does text-based art for 40 years. And I think the NFTs using art as the communication tool is kind of just trying to use the format of blockchain to really introduce the value of the blockchain, and the objects that these digital art pieces are just kind of symbols and like the first language of how to really use the blockchain programming. And it's more of a fad with respect to people who haven't gotten into the domain space with the digital assets, and now they can make art, and now they can get into the digital space and then find money because of all this expendable income is a exciting thing. But in regards to the value of the art itself, that in reality, art takes a long time to elevate in the scheme of things. Real art. There's fads and they come and go. And it's more about understanding the value is in learning how to use the blockchain and the decentralization more than it is to collect great art. I think the formats that have been established so far, the little that I understand, the real value is not necessarily in the art, but it's in the clubs that the buyers are involved in where they get these perks. So they've come up with a system to give the art credibility, but it's really a club of financiers that can, keep the interest going. And I'm conscious of I have some great pieces that I think could make great NFTs, and eventually I'm going to try to get into that space. But art, real art, isn't produced by a 12-year-old person who knows how to program and make a neat GIF. And most of the images seem like gamey cartoon things. And in regard to what art is a cultural legacy that requires maturity and engagement in the scheme of things through a long period of time. I mean, just think of Picasso's early work, or even Van Gogh. No one was interested in that. So it takes a while, and I think that it's important for domainers to get an understanding of what the value of blockchain is and that whole system, as opposed to the artwork itself. In time, the artwork will be, significant, I guess, but owning any work of art, an original work of art, you don't have to have a decentralized token. It's important if you think that that's important, but in reality, it's the value of the object itself when it's in your home or in your space, and you get an interaction in real time. That's what I think.
If you go back, actually, it's kind of funny you mentioned that the a lot of the value in these ones now are in the club status, or we're in a social group or whatever it is. I think you're right. A lot of the value, or the perceived value, is more of that than in the actual images that they're getting. If you go back, the interview I did with Andrew Miller, I think it was on Tuesday, unfortunately got cut out. we were talking about NFTs. I wanted to pivot back to domains, which I'll actually do shortly. But he's talking about how he was giving the great example he gave was like, he spends, I think it was $25,000 or the number he said, for season tickets at NFL at the Patriots games, right? And so for him, the games are there, but it's a social club. He goes and he networks with people there too, and there's added value to there that's not really part of the baseline. I think that's the case here, right? Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that are going on in these blockchains that don't need to be, right? People are rushing to do all these things, and it's like, no, you're right. Art, you could go out and go to whatever part of town you're in and go buy a really awesome piece of art for $100, right? Less than the cost of gas fees for a manipulated ape or whatever it is, and it's important, to support artists in many ways. I myself, it's funny because this January got into a little game on my phone. I was just, passing some time, and then before going to bed, I would turn on YouTube, and there's this guy talking about the game. He's just a funny guy. He's an artist. He actually does artwork and stuff like that. And I go, you know what? This guy's trying to do something, build something world. I signed up to his Patreon. Right? It's $5 a month. It's not much, but it's like he created value for me in when he does, it's, I think, artists you got to support, and doesn't necessarily, you don't have to wait till they get on the blockchain, I think, for that, but anyhow, I do want to take,
I just wanted to, can I throw out real fast?
Go.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Adam. You guys pushed me over $20,000 and I hit my goal. Much appreciated.
So wait,
Thank you.
So let's get a preview. Where's the mustache?
It's over in the house.
I'm
in my office. I thought about running over to get it.
We're here all night. We're here all night, Michael.
All right.
And you're a fast
actually have
runner.
to jump off. Our local newspaper is interviewing my wife and I at 2 o'clock in 5 minutes. So I need to jump off, run over there, and then I'll come back and I will have the mustache.
Right on.
Right, I promise you.
Mike,
right on.
you could grow it for November at the same time.
There you go.
You know,
Pauses.
I could. Yes, Zesty, that is a great idea. I may think about it. I really don't fill in that well. So, you know, you saw me like a couple months ago when I got lazy and grew my whole beard. It really doesn't fill in.
Oh, yeah, actually, you know, speaking of hair, like, I mean, like this is, I think, I think I got
you're like a rock star there, Arif, with your long hair.
I didn't have my long hair once many years ago, but yeah, I think I got my last haircut. I might have been right before the first social I did. Might have been afterwards. I don't know. It was last summer for sure. This is a year's worth of growth. So yeah, when I went to get my haircut, you know, whatever your stand, I don't want to get this into the thing, but wherever you stand on masks, whatever it is, you know, obviously, please always be safe when you do stuff. But my barber had his mask under his nose. So I'm like, if you're gonna wear a mask, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, if you can't wear a mask properly, how are you gonna, you know, can you cut my hair properly? I don't know. So it was just like, and so that was.
So if you're saying you had a haircut and this was the result?
Yeah, but my haircut was a year ago.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, a year ago.
Yeah, it was a year ago. I've had one haircut since March of last year of 2020.
I got to run for a little while. Zesty, I just posted the link to the New York Marathon. And Jason, thank you so much for your donation too. All right, see you guys in a little while. I'm gonna stay on, but just turn off my video.
Sounds good. Yeah. So what I wanted to do actually before, because it's 5 o'clock, so I'm gonna stop recording right now. I just want a little feedback on all of you. Like, I want to know the last year and a bit, like what it's meant to you guys. If you guys, you know, I want to know the new friends you've met and all that mushy gushy stuff that you know. I just want to know, you know, what your favorite moments from the last year and a bit, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on you know, if you've made new friends, or if, you know, if there's certain moments of the socials that stood out more than others. You know, like as I said, that one moment with Thomas and when Drew Rosner and Amar were fighting over his domain, that was really fun. Getting together the Halloween episode. Oh my goodness, I was so, my acting skills are so embarrassing. I gotta get some lessons from you. That was fun when I reenacted that other thing. But yeah, so anyways, if you guys want to just before I stop recording, just if there's any moments of the last year and a bit that really, you know, stood out to you, feel free to share, and then I'll probably stop the recording soon enough.
Well, pretty much everything, you know, every time that, you know, what you did was, you know, seal what Michael had started. And like all the relationships are stronger thanks to all that you did in the past year. Of course, the Halloween one was memorable. That was a lot of fun. It was like an office party, you know, like if we're all working together, even though we're like individually working behind our screens. But yes, I think it's very important that you keep perhaps doing some special events like that.
That's why I'm saying once a month, and on that list of things is a Halloween one. I don't know what the exact date will be. Right now, I've penciled in for the Friday before Halloween, but I'm looking, and if I go back to work, I would likely be working that Friday. But I could probably find a trade or get a day off or whatever it is. But I definitely want to do that Halloween one again. And this time, you're all gonna help me with all the little pre stuff. This time, first time was a surprise, but that was a lot of work, that one there. And my acting skills are horrible.
It was not acting so much as the editing.
Yeah, but it was all like last minute. That's it. And while the editing was horrible, the acting was horrible, or both, or what were you saying? Either way, it was all like I was.
Nothing was horrible.
But it was fun. That's the thing. So I want you all this time. So Halloween. So here's the thing. I'm gonna go with it again. So September 24th, NamesCon, final day. Final day is the Friday, September 24th. You can come to the after party. I'll probably label it Domain Podcast, the social, or I don't know what it'll be, something like that. But the after party will be at I think it's 3 p.m. Eastern. I think it's the same time as we usually start the socials. And if you're at NamesCon, you'll be able to attend. But also, if you're on the Domain Social mailing list, or go to Domain Podcast and sign up there, you'll be able to attend also. So that'll be the next kind of thing we do. I think between now and then, unless something really significant pops up, I'm just going to take a little bit of a break and participate in other people's sort of projects and whatever it is. Some people on Clubhouse, as I mentioned before, Jeff, Michelle, Paige, and is Todd still here? Todd, I think Todd's in the audience. They all like offer great sort of rooms in Clubhouse. I'll probably be on there a little bit more, bandwidth permitting, walking my dog. Yeah. So, but then at the 24th, that'll be the last day of NamesCon, September. I did for this week. I wanted to do a couple of auctions, but I realized it's just getting too big. I couldn't do both at the same time. I did want to do one for the ICA, and my plan for that is either integrate it into the NamesCon one, just to have a little bit of an auction, or somewhere in between NamesCon and Halloween, have another sort of social thing and do an ICA auction, a mini thing like we did last year. Just raise some funds for the ICA. I was thinking maybe doing a 50-50, where half the money, you'd still keep half the money, and the other half the money would go to the ICA. And even for new members, maybe even have that money applied towards your membership. Again, I really want to support the ICA, internetcommerce.org. For those of you who are making money in this industry, please go and support. And then it would be a Halloween one, probably the weekend of Halloween. I don't know what exact date. It would either be the Friday or the Sunday. The Sunday is the 31st, so I'm thinking Sunday might be a little bit awkward because kids are, people are taking their kids up for trick or treating. So I thought maybe Friday would be the best. But between now and then, if I do a couple of other panels, I might find a day of the week that works best. I'm still trying to figure that out. And then I'm for sure doing the holiday auction, the party auction again this year. This time it might be before Christmas, I'm thinking, but maybe not. I don't know. I'll probably do a poll at some point for that. And then I said, like, next summer, Montreal is the most amazing city in the world. I'm sure Joel can agree with me. In the summer, we have a huge weekend. The Formula One Grand Prix weekend is usually the second weekend of June. So I'm thinking either the week after that, maybe not even a full week, maybe 3 days, maybe 4 days, whatever it is. Come and combine it with your own thing. And then we have one of the largest music festivals, the Montreal Jazz Fest in the world. And it usually straddles 2 weekends, the last weekend of June, the first weekend of July. Of course, COVID permitting, who knows what's going to happen between now and then. Hopefully things will scale down, but either the week before that or after that. Those are the 3 sort of time slots I was thinking. So again, if there's 5 of us, you guys come enjoy Montreal. We go for drinks in the terrace every single night. We talk domains, we talk whatever else. And if there's a lot more, well, then maybe I'll organize something like, probably not like this, but something a little bit more organized. And that's it. Between now and then, also some domain podcasts. I have no idea where I was going with this. What was I saying?
You were saying that we could try to pull the Ocean's 11 in your casino.
There you go. Yeah. Who knows if all we were still working there at that time? I don't know. This whole week is. I really enjoyed putting together this week. It was a heck of a lot of work, but I've learned so much from this week. It's prepare a little bit more ahead of time, right? Prepare a little bit more ahead of time. Get some more help. That's the problem with this week is people were saying, "Can I help?" But the problem is like for me to explain in the last minutes, like for me to explain and get people to. It was a lot of chaos. But I'm really happy with the way this week turned out. It was a lot of fun and a lot of people helped. What else do I need to say?
So your podcast, is it going to be just audio only?
No, it'll be exactly like this week, but one session. Like it'll be like one of my big regrets this week is Jason Eisler still here? I know he's still here, but basically the Outbounders one with him, Alex, and Roman, like that could have gone on for hours. So my plan is to figure out a date where I get a few people together on a certain topic, have a panel. At the end of the panel, do exactly like we're doing right now, invite people up, have a discussion about it, have the people Q&A, and then at some point, so that will be to share on YouTube and I will do a podcast for my. I want to try and get some audio out there. It will be side streamed to you, those of you listening on Clubhouse, and then at a certain point, cut off the recording, and then have a social, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm committing to a standalone social once a month, but almost everything I do with Domain Podcast will end with a social of some kind. So again, it's not like it's ending. It's just evolving, and I think it'll make it a little bit better too, because there'll be like a theme of the day where people can actually discuss a little bit more domains and be a little bit focused on that. But it could be other stuff too. Like, I mean, I talked with with Drew Wash and with Jamie Eastman from Clubhouse. I wanted them to be part with a couple other people, a build out sort of panel, right? But then I soon realized at the start of the week that there's no way I would do one of those in a like a 75-minute slot. It wouldn't fit. It wouldn't make sense. There'd be no time to show things, to demonstrate. So stuff like that is what I want to do, And then like my conversation with Monte, that's another thing I want to do. Like we talked about, I didn't realize he was into the digitization of music and the monetization. That's maybe a little bit of a side topic, but like that's kind of what I want to do as well, and there's pretty much every topic we've done this week was a sampling, right? That blockchain, if you guys check the Saturday one, the blockchain panel, it ended up in this huge, heated discussion, whatever it is. That's an important conversation, important discussions to have. I would love to be able to continue that in a way that I don't have to say, okay, we're done. You know what I mean? Continue it and then let people come on, ask questions. So that's basically my vision. And it's oddly enough, it was what I wanted to do last year. Last year, when Mike was doing the weekly socials still, I was at the end of the social, I would start a little smaller one, just a group of people we knew, not to be exclusive. It was just, it kind of grew over the weeks, but it was just because we were there and we wanted to keep on talking domains. And so I already got the Zoom set up. And then I actually want the things I was doing last year with the panels. That's what I wanted to do. My mind is like, Mike was going to do his Friday things, the social. I want to do what I did with the domain panel last year and this week, but individually. I wanted to start that last year. But then Mike said, I'm taking a break from the social. Anybody want to take over? And that changed everything. I still did some panels, but not as focused as I wanted to be. So what I'm doing changes into was what I always wanted to do, and what I want to do with the panels. And then this year, unfortunately, with work, as you guys know, like I was pretty much on standby on a week by week basis. Like they could have called me like any given day. And then I knew that, 7 days later, I would be doing some small retraining and then going back to work. And so like all these things, it takes time to plan, right? It doesn't take 1 week to plan one event to one panel. It takes 3 weeks to plan. I don't even know how many, 20, whatever it is. But, I've learned this week that I can be a little bit more flexible. Plus the people I've networked with now will help me take things up in the future. But now, I've learned so much from this week. It's like there's so many things that went wrong behind the scenes, it was insane. And actually that brings me to another point. There's somebody else. I don't want to name too many names here because there's countless people I wanted to thank, but there's somebody here earlier on who I regret that he's already left. I tried to ping him back, so I was waiting a bit, but Paige Howe last year, he got me to produce the domain show, right? The first online, domain conference, right? And that to me was really special. It's obviously part of how I was able to do this. Maybe I guess I learned a lot from that. As I said a couple of times this week, you guys have always seen me wear this shirt all week, but I remember him at one point. He was it was before anybody was there. He was just putting on he was changing shirts, putting on another shirt. And he's like, he told me, it's his TV shirt. I can't remember his TV shirt or conference shirt. He said something. There's a certain type of shirt where he goes, because when you're editing stuff and you're putting different videos together from different days of your whatever you're doing, when you're editing, and then all of a sudden, you have a different shirt on because you edited things together, it looks weird. So like, that's one. But it's like that's a really simple thing that he showed me. That's why this week I've always been wearing this one from Morgan. But last year was was a real honor to that he reached out to me, and that was so much fun. It was a lot easier because I just had to put things together behind the scenes, and I knew that once he was on screen, it'd be like Paige knows everything about this industry, right? I always jokingly lovingly call him like Wile E. Coyote, right? Because he tries everything to get the Roadrunner, right? It's like no matter what it is, he's tried it in this industry, whether big, small, going to these little corners, whatever it is. So yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to him for that last year, because that was a lot of fun. And I never intended for this week to be what it is, but if it wasn't for my experience last year, like this probably would have just fallen apart. It was already a lot of challenges, but it's again, like with Mike and Paige and many other people in this industry who were there before me. It's just good to have people who planted the seeds to do something cool, because without the pioneers, the next level wouldn't be there. And again, I want everybody here, when you're going to these other Zoom sessions that people were sure to start at some point, going to these clubhouse rooms, show support for whoever's doing them. What you do may not seem like much, again, just sharing a tweet. If one person, it's not a ton, but if everybody does it, it really helps them coordinate and organize and send out the word. It's really important. It doesn't have to always be financial contributions, whatever it is. Just give some energy and love, and that's that. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna probably wrap up the recording, so I'm gonna just try and blurt out some of the final things I wanted to say on camera. Again, this week's all been free. If you've enjoyed it, go to donate.domainerweek.com. I've set up a GoFundMe where the money raised will go to a few different charities. Basically, support bring water to corners of the world where there's not, fighting cancer, third world education. One of our fellow domainers who is going through a COVID crisis right now, has been in the hospital for many weeks. And then also Internet Commerce Association. Again, for those of you who are not a member, who are making money in this industry, I really suggest that you $25 a month. They do a lot for us behind the scenes, and that's what's great about them, right? Is that they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that most of us don't even understand, and they do so, and by doing so, they allow us to continue not to understand it, but what they do is important. So again, I want to thank Camila and Zach and Nat and the rest of the board there, and all the members who support them, because those little things help us when those trademark holders come and try to change policies to make it that we aren't allowed to register a larger subset of domains. That hurts us. Hurts our ability to buy low and sell high, these beautiful magical things called domains, right? So on that note, I know there's more stuff I had to say, but I completely forget, and I'm just tired of rambling. I'm going to actually enjoy the rest of this evening. We're going to be on for a while. Those of you in Clubhouse, if you want to come on, I will, after I stop recording, I'll give you a special link to come on, just for security reasons. I don't want to say it while on YouTube. And what else do I need to say? I'm just going through my list of stuff all week. All week I was saying I have 9 days to say it, and now it's 9 days later. So I don't know. Do you anybody here want to say any of your final thoughts? What did you actually? Yeah, here. What are some of your favorite sessions and stuff? Did you guys have any favorites of this week?
They were all good, and saying from the viewer's point of view, although you said that there were many hiccups and problems, but it looked pretty flawless from my side. I didn't see anything to complain about, so you did an amazing job.
Yeah, I guess the fire is always bigger in the kitchen, right? It's yeah.
I gotta second what Frank just said, without a doubt. You did an incredible job.
Incredible. You're an amazing producer, Laura.
I think you're in the wrong business in dealing, or
that's
come out here to Hollywood.
Don't chase him away, Al. Don't chase him away.
Hold on. Come out here to Hollywood, and I think you'll be making a lot more money.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm celebrating a very large work anniversary on the 9th of September.
How many years?
I'll let you do the math. I started in 96.
I don't know how to do math.
25.
Congratulations.
My goal with domains was actually to just do it and build it on the side slowly but surely, which has been going, last few years have been getting better and better. And at year 25, I was thinking of taking a sabbatical and just looking for, other stuff in the industry, maybe focusing a little bit more full time. But then COVID came and threw a monkey wrench in it all. But I'm still kind of trying to weigh my options. Anybody out there who in the domain industry who has a really interesting and I don't know position that would seem that name find position was really intriguing me for a while. I don't know if I could work at GoDaddy because it means I couldn't buy any more domains, right? So I know you can get some, I think closeout they're allowed or whatever it is, but it's like if you go work for GoDaddy, it means you can't participate in the auctions, and I don't know if I want to close that forever. I don't know. I like being a domain investor, but yeah, Mike, looking forward to not being but
I want to say, man, this is my first time outside of Clubhouse being on a domain group like this, and honestly, this whole week has been good, man. I learned a lot, so hey, keep doing what you do.
I'm really super happy for that, and I'm really regretful that it took till now for you to find us, because I'm not going weekly anymore. But it's certainly not the end, and I will be jumping in there. And if anybody else, is doing anything and wants support in any way, just reach out. I haven't even set up an email yet for DomainPodcast.com, so you can still go to info at thedomainsocial.com. Again, don't forget the in front of it. And anybody doing anything you want support with, send me a message, and I'm there. Again, like I'll just go to Clubhouse now and say, I know there's some people doing some cool stuff there. Todd and Paige, both of them put a lot of energy into their more produced type of shows, which are are really good. I suggest you follow them there. Jeff has just started in his domaining career, but he's been at it, I think 10, 11 weeks now. Every Thursday he has this thing. Michelle, Aaron, and Tom, right? Rapid Fire. They put together, they have an auction platform that's really cool, and they're doing the auctions. But beyond that, every weekday at 2 p.m. They just for the sake of getting people together and doing something for domains. They do this, the hand reg competition, right? They call it, and so basically you go there at 2:00. Whoever won the day before gets to set the theme of the day, and and it's a race. You have 1 hour more or less to hand reg the best domain of that theme, and then after that, through their platform, they everybody kind of votes the one they think the best. And it's might seem like a little contest, but it's fun because people get to think and talk domains, right? And you get to talk about them afterwards, and that's the most important thing in this industry, is learning from each other. There's I don't think anybody here would be where they are without learning from each other in these types of settings. I learned so much from the domain Sherpas, from Mike, and from the other even the forums, right? So some of the forums have gone a little bit in certain directions, whatever it is, but there's no doubt that there's still a community aspect there. Anywhere you go, there's always gonna be bright stars and good friends lurking there to meet. That you never know. Like again, with this social, all of you guys here, especially those of you who've been since almost from the start, and if not before, you're my friends, right? So yeah, it's even if we never met.
Mike helped me out too. Mike took my list too. I didn't want to say nothing. So when I first met Mike asked me to send me my list. He said, I see where you're going, but I wouldn't buy him.
Yeah.
So Mike he helped me a lot too. So
yeah, I was laughing when he was talking about Joel before, because I'm sure as heck that Mike has probably an email from my early days as a domain investor that I would probably cringe at as well. So it's we all had our learning growth, right? Our learning stages. So it's Some of us learn faster than others, thankfully. Well, actually, probably anybody who's here right now who's been in domains for more than just a few months. I mean, most people don't make it that far. So congratulations on that. You know,
after this week,
hey, Ellen.
hi, not a domainer, so I've been in the background. But after this week, what I realize is I'm listening to conversations and the things that I'm reading, newspapers and such, in a different perspective, because catchy phrases
oh yeah
catch my eye and I say, oh, that could be a domain. Oh my gosh. And so I'm starting to look up domain names when I hear something that sounds right. Now, I know you've said just because it sounds right doesn't mean it's a good domain. It's not necessarily sellable, but if it attracted my attention, my feeling is it will attract someone else's. So this week, I mentioned it yesterday, somebody in another group I'm on, a techie guy, used the term buffer bloat. And I thought, that's hysterical, bufferbloat.com, go for it. Well, there's a bufferbloat.tech already. Somebody, that's a term, that's a thing. And yesterday or 2 days ago, John Berryhill used the phrase, surrender Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Yeah. And I thought, surrenderdorothy.com, let's go check that one out, because if he used it, it's a thing. And it was registered. So I think I'm ruined. I don't think I can listen to language anymore in the same way without going, interrupting my thoughts and going and looking up and seeing if if a domain name is available for that. So thank you all for that. I mean, maybe that makes me a domainer in the making. I kind of hope that.
It does. Now you know what's going on inside our heads all of the time when we're listening to things.
I do. I totally understand it. If I hadn't been diverted by ICANN, I got involved with ICANN when it was starting, and it was very complicated. And I was going to all these meetings all over the place. And if I hadn't been diverted by that and had the realization at this moment, at that time, I'd be like you guys. I'd be into it for sure. But there was also, for me, a moral compunction. I just felt that registering a domain name that I didn't intend to use in some way to develop, for personal reasons, was not right, because there's a limited supply. I guess you can call it that. Well, we're only limited by our imagination. And that was at a time when there were very few TLDs and when the character string could only be 26, I think. But still, anyway, opportunity missed, but I'm sure enjoying this discussion. Thank you, guys. And
Ellen, it's been wonderful having you on the last few weeks. For those who don't know, Ellen wrote the pioneering book of this industry back in what year was it published?
1998, which makes me verifiably old.
No, but yeah, domain handbook, right?
3 years ago. You know what's really astonishing, and I think thank you, somebody, a fan, thank you. Somebody has it here. Several of you have it. Well, this is kind of what's interesting. That book was published 23 years ago, came out at $42.50. And I saw it the other day. Periodically, I go onto Amazon and see, if there's copies and what's going on. And it was selling for more. It was selling for $60.
Wow.
$67, 23 years later. Who knew? I mean, I wish I had an inventory to sell. Yeah. And I wish it's so thick, it's out of print.
Ellen, so here we go. Now I think maybe 2022 might be time for a second edition. What do you think?
He's onto something, Ellen. He's onto it.
Are you going to write it? Because I'm not.
No. I don't know. I've got a lot more free time coming up tomorrow. So, but I don't think I'm going to take that.
You can't say no to RF. He had 50 people on here. How many people do you think said no to him? Nobody. Like, he got everybody.
Almost, yeah. The only people quit were on vacation.
Listen, guys, I work 15 hours a day for a year on it, and it was changing while I was writing the words. And when I was maybe 4 months into it, I remember at one of these shows in LA, in San Francisco, I knew a lot of people because I was visible and on a listserv and out there and whatever. And a guy comes up to me while I'm writing it and he says, "When is version 2 coming out?" I mean, come on. And that's why I registered DomainHandbook.com, because the idea was, okay, this is going to evolve. It's not stagnant. It's the internet. It changes every day. Things go, things come. So the whole point was to have the website be the update. Okay? Except that it started evolving so fast. And I was one person and I didn't have the technical skills to do, I don't know, auto news dumps. And I was working full time with no reward. And I finally stopped in 2004 and said, I can't keep up. And I haven't been able to keep up. Yeah. So at this point, I can come on here and just have a lot of fun. And thank you for that. I really have enjoyed it. And it's been very informative. And,
So Ellen,
enjoy to have you too.
Hi, Arif. I'm back. Hey, Jonathan. And hey, Ellen.
While you're here, take charge for a minute. I'm going to refresh my drink.
Oh,
and I'll be right back. I'm listening. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Okay, you promoted me. So I have an interesting story about Ellen's book, because I say this all the time that when I was running I was the CTO of a registry back in the 90s into the early 2000s, and we would make sure to get everybody educated on what it was we were talking about and selling so they'd understand domain names. And Ellen's book was required reading as part of that process. We would actually do kind of quizzes and things about that. And so I had a group in a room and I was discussing, .com and some of the things with them. And we were running a CCTLD, literally CC. And we had branched open a new division that was selling as a reseller of eNom and selling ComNet orgs. And there were only 5 registrars initially when ICANN kind of cracked it open from Network Solutions. So we were working through eNom, and we'd have to constantly monitor our account balance because people were just coming in and buying names like crazy. And we had one person come through and register like a big block of probably 1,000 dictionary words. This was in 98, I want to say, just as they'd cracked it open, maybe 99. And I remember having the log file showing these happening real time up on the wall and talking to a room of about 12 different customer service agents and saying, look at this dumb a-hole, they're spending, that's $12,000 they'll never get back. And just, I eat that all the time because, if they held those 1,000 dictionary words, that, any one sale of those would have carried that, and everything else is just gravy. So, for as much as any of us in the industry try to get something right, you can get it really just triumphantly wrong too. But I remember, because I was talking about Ellen's book and saying, you need to understand this industry. And by the way, we're selling lots of these ComNet orgs. And I remember putting that up on the screen and just how I don't know, it wasn't embarrassing I don't mind talking about it. I'll out myself as, I get it wrong all the time too. And so, but anyway, those two stories and anecdotes are kind of tied together. But Ellen, it's been a delight to have you on here. I'm so glad you take some time and join us, because it's just like so cool. It really is. And it's great to see so many of you with your video on. I was able to pop in earlier when it was in podcast mode or in webcast mode or whatever it's called. But I had to sneak away for a meeting. I'm so sad that this is ending. I really am. I'm not going to get over Misty and stuff, but this has been really important to me throughout.
We want to see you cry, Jonathan.
Well, I do when I think about that 1,000 dictionary words. And I was trying to eke it out. It's like pulling a nose hair or something, trying to get yourself to cry. But I couldn't summon the tear because, I think I've come to an acceptance of that because it's so.
Don't cry over water under the bridge. We want to see tears of joy in your eyes.
Well, I have tears of joy. I'll tell you what, the reason that I had to break away was a call with Ruth McCartney, who came and joined us. And I'm doing a lot with her related to domain names now since she came aboard here. There've been a lot of people that have been interested in domain names, and she does a lot with the musicians and celebrities and folks down in Hollywood, but all over the place. And everybody's got domain names, and so she needed help all the time with domain names, and so she's brought me in. And if you go, she's actually got a domain name section of her website, and she's got me listed on the website as like her go-to expert for domains. So I'm delighted, and that was why I had to leave and come back. It was kind of like a full circle thing. But I'm back.
She'd probably be interested in .hip hop that was mentioned in the last Monte Cahn mentioned .hip hop.
Hip hop, yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting. That was kind of cool to see. I've been wondering, because UNR, the Uniregistry, like TLD holdings, they had, I think, 27 or 28 different strings that they put up for auction a few months ago. And you typically would see who has bought them because ICANN's got like an assignment phase that they do. So we'd be able to see, who are some of the people who picked some of those up. So it's nice to hear. And when I heard Jeff Newman's name, Jeff has been around in the ICANN space for as long as Ellen or I, or some of us who are longer in the tooth with patients with the ICANN process. So that's actually a really good thing. It's a big feature because Jeff Newman is very, very highly respected and a good person to have on your side. So it'll be very interesting to see with Monty's, all of his strengths and Jeff's strengths. I think that'll be interesting with the focus on one TLD. You saw what .club did. I think, .hip hop does have if it has a chance, those guys will make it happen. So that's an exciting time.
Yeah, Michael, looking good.
I am.
Yeah, I like it, Michael.
My
you look like Mario's dad or Luigi's dad.
I'm previewing my Monopoly mustache for the marathon because thanks to generosity of this industry, I have now exceeded my goal for the marathon of $20,000. And want to give a shout out to Joshua here as well. He contributed in addition to the few other people that I mentioned earlier. So yes, this is the mustache I will wear for my marathon. Right now it's being held on very gently because I don't want to use it. It only came with one mustache. But yeah, if for those of you on Clubhouse, it looks like the Monopoly man mustache. It's
you guys are missing out on something spectacular over here. Yeah. He's wiggling it too.
And if you use hallucinogenic glue, the marathon will go over very quickly.
Oh my gosh, it's tickling me too much.
I think you're going to end up painting it on.
Yeah.
It'll be more comfortable.
Exactly. Yeah, paint.
Yeah, it's funny.
It'll be used for the picture and that's it. Take
probably,
a picture and that's
Joshua.
it.
Yeah, so it's funny. So David mentioned in the chat, Ellen. So what Ellen was talking about constantly checking for names and stuff like that. It's this kind of really funny thing. So David wrote, what you're describing, constantly checking if names are available, is the reason why Domainers Anonymous is taken, and ironically enough, I own that domain name. So yeah, I found that funny, just to bring it back into domains and stuff like that. It's maybe that'll be my next project. After this week, I got you all hooked, and I'm gonna start the unhooking process.
Yeah,
we have that actually on Clubhouse on Saturday nights. Domainers Anonymous, and discount their names down to like $10 sometimes to get rid of their inventory.
Oh wow, yeah.
Is that a 12-step program?
I like that.
I mean,
we should write the 12 steps.
I don't know.
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Knowing that you probably have to go through ICANN certification program, it'd probably like 317 steps.
Oh, step one, we admitted we were powerless over ICANN.
There you go.
Right?
And our lives have become unmanageable.
That's correct. Yeah, or portfolios. Yeah.
Ryan, what do you mean? Where do you sign up? You sign up at domainersanonymous.com.
Oh, hey, I think this group ought to put together 12 steps. Somebody do it now. 12 steps.
Alan, you're the writer.
Domainers Anonymous.
You're the writer. And you're the newest addict apparently. So we're gonna you'll be our test subject.
I'm a 12 stepper. I can find this really easy if you guys are being serious. I'll out myself.
Yeah, I've actually been pretty good. I haven't bought domain, of any volume in a while since stopping name cult last year. So yeah, maybe next couple of weeks I'll start up name cult again. I don't know.
I have fun with these 12-step meetings, by the way, just for fun. Is sometimes people will say something like the first step is our lives have become unmanageable, and sometimes people will say our wives have become unmanageable.
Uh-oh.
So
I didn't say that. Don't say it too loud. There. Don't say it too loudly.
It's just somebody accidentally saying something. And there's one, when we're wrong, promptly admitted it. I've heard somebody say when we're wrong, probably admitted it. So there's some interesting little 12-step snuffers. But if you're not in it, it's not that interesting. Anyway, back to domains.
Well, there's a step where you're supposed to make amends. So, I mean, in the context of domain names, what would that be?
You return the domain to the previous owner.
Oh, really?
I say I apologize for drop catching the domain that you used to own. I have no idea.
I disguised myself as a starving student.
Yeah. There you apologize to your wife for spending the grocery money on a speculative investment.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or yeah. I apologize for inflating the value of the domain name when I sold it to you, but I'm keeping it.
Either side could have worked. Or yeah, I think I want to plus up what Mike had said, which is, hey, honey, we can't go to, name destination vacation because I just bought this premium domain. That's an event.
I just bought CancunRentals.net. Now we can't go to Cancun.
Yeah.
Actually, my father was a fine art collector in the late 30s living in Paris, and he would attend fine art auctions, and that very thing happened. My parents got married in 1937, and they were supposed to go down to Cannes for their honeymoon, and my father said, "Sorry, sweetheart, I spent it all on art." Right. So it's a collector's bug.
Yeah.
It comes with the territory if you're a collector of whatever. Or maybe that's addiction. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm adding several domains to Afternic that I bought in the last month or so that I forgot to add to Afternic. So.
I don't have that problem. At least I don't have that problem in front of Michael Seiger, who will scold me if I admit to having that problem.
Maybe to close out the 12-step conversation, I said earlier, don't knowingly register a trademark. Don't drink and register.
Oh no, that's fun.
It can be, but the spelling gets loose, and the whole. It's really easy to get really exuberant about something, and then the next morning it's like, what was I thinking? And I've seen people spend a lot.
There's
about the love of words and the power of words in our culture and in how we communicate to each other. And then to have the added rush of discovery online into who is or who's using what words that you value or think has meaning. Those are all things that are really thrilling to a person who, loves words and cares about communication. So, and it is addicting as far as my own experience is concerned.
I'd follow on Jonathan's recommendation. There's an acronym HALT. So don't register domain names if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
Yeah.
HALT.
Yeah.
Or high.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're high, angry, lonely, or tired.
Especially if you're any combination thereof. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess I wanted to talk. I'm glad you're back, Jonathan. I just wanted to really, I want to thank everybody. Well, I want to get people who are on the other side who want to come up. I want to get them in part of the conversation. So I'm going to stop the recording in 2 or 3 minutes. but I did again. I want to thank everybody for this. It's the combination, right? This past year and a half, and this past week. I'm avoiding saying names because it's just the list is so long. Michael actually just said goodbye, but obviously he started this all, so I have no choice but to thank Michael Seiger for everything and for everything he's done for my personal domain education. Domains have really have done well for me lately. And it's something I'm really excited about, and it's brought me to all of you here doing this. So I'm really grateful to that, what he's done. And Jonathan's back. Again, Jonathan doesn't like praise, but Jonathan's super smart guy, but more than his awesome smarts is he's a super generous guy with his time and energy. And yeah, Jonathan, I'm really appreciative to all the help you've given over the last year. It's meant a lot to me, and to all of you. Like, so many of you have stayed in after hours, talked about topics in depth, and some of you have so much knowledge and skills that you've shared. That again, I want to thank you all, but I can't, because it's just I fear that there'll be one person I'll leave out, and whatever it is, and it's this community. It's meant a lot to me. So I want to thank you all for an amazing year. I'm just going to wrap up with a few final housekeeping things. Those on Clubhouse, stay tuned. As soon as I stop recording, I'm going to give you a link to join us on Zoom. You enter the link and you'll be able to come in. What else do I need to say? Again, if you got anything out of this week, go to donate. Actually, first thing you do, go to domainerweek.com, right? If you're just watching this on YouTube, I'll leave this site up for indefinitely. I don't know when I'll if and when I'll be crazy enough to try to do this again. But until that point, this will be up. It has links to each individual day to rewatch on YouTube. Again, it's all free. I will be to join us for future things. I know I've been hinting at some future events. Actually, we're going to be doing the DomainPodcast after party. I'm going to be doing probably an ICA fundraiser auction, the Halloween party. We're going to do the holiday charity auction. I'm going to redo as well. Maybe something in between there. It won't be every week, but the DomainPodcast might be every week. I'm not starting it right away. Probably after NamesCon, I'll do that. And then there'll be a different theme every week. It won't be as grandiose as this week. It'll be like one theme a week. Basically, like if you take one session from this week, stand it alone, get some experts, so we can go a little bit longer, however long we need, and then bring people on, have a discussion about that topic, then stop recording. Everything up to that point will be shared. And then what we often have done over the last year, after we've stopped recording, or on weeks where we don't record at all, there's a lot more information that comes out. People share a lot more, well, first of all, personal information, but also technical and private information, a lot of interesting sales we've discussed. Some people don't feel comfortable sharing on YouTube, which is fair enough, or on recording. And so when those of you who stayed late, some of our sessions started 3 p.m. Eastern, and there are nights we've still been there at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, my time. Frank and Joseph, who are in Estonia and Turkey respectively, I think are 7 hours ahead of me. So they start at 10 p.m. and then we've gone 12 hours. There's times when the sun's come out on their end of the world, and they're still there. So I'm really thankful to those of you who've made that effort to do that. But yeah, so there's a lot of great information that's shared after hours. I've touched upon that before in previous recordings. Again, I don't want to say specific people. There's so many people who've been generous with their time, their energy, and information. But yeah, do come to the private sessions. Do come to the closed rooms. That's what we're doing with the DomainPodcast. First part will be the panel. Second part will be a sort of a public session, and then cut off the recording, and then the real discussions start. So go to what will soon be DomainPodcast. So DomainPodcast, not Domainer, DomainPodcast.com. Currently that forwards to the DomainSocial.com, thedomainsocial.com. But either way, sign up there. The mailing list will be the same one. I'm going to move one to the other, and join us in the future. Every time I do something, I'll send out an email shortly before with a Zoom link. Join us on Zoom. The YouTube channel will still be there. Currently live.domainerweek.com forwards there. I will probably also set up either live or probably YT domainpodcast.com. That will also forward to the channel. You can search YouTube for Domain Podcast. I'm sure it'll pop up. Domain Social as well. You'll find some of the older socials we had as well. I think Michael Sagers will come up if you search for that too. What other links do I need to know? Donate.domainweek.com. It forwards to a GoFundMe. GoFundMe page. On domainweek.com, it's a direct link to the GoFundMe page as well. I'll probably leave that open for another at least a few days. And if you've seen value, if you felt that it was this whole week brought you some value and you're able to contribute, that money's all going to charity. Individually, the charities I support this week. But again, any charity you want is fine. Let me know. Please do email me. But Water School, waterschool.com. I think they have both the .com and the .org. But I was corrected last week. I said .org and it's the .com. So waterschool.com, as well as that's for bringing water to other countries, other corners of the world where there isn't much. And also Third World Education, UNESCO, and EFK.org, Entrepreneurs for Knowledge. They like Water School. The board funds all the overhead and all the costs, so that whatever you contribute goes directly to the source. EFK.org, they're based in Europe, right? So that's why first time I didn't really get to them, but they have some roots, some connections to the domain industry. And so if you're in Europe, EFK.org, Soren's on the board there. Tell them that Domainer Week sent you when you make a contribution. If for those of you in Europe, it might be easier to do that. That's Third World Education for me is a very, very important thing, for me. So you'll do that. If you're for fighting cancer, again, I have a couple of friends who've recently been hit with very serious, with cancer. So in the United States, Fred Hutchinson, which is Michael Sager's charity of choice, or if you're in Canada, Canadian Cancer Society, whatever country you're in, do that. Anything that goes to the donate.domainweek.com, I'm going to divide up between the charities that are there. Also, join the ICA, internetcommerce.org. They do a lot of stuff for us as domain investors. And our friend Thomas Groh, if you go to domainweek.com, there's a direct link to his GoFundMe page as well. He's got hit. He's been in the hospital for many weeks. He's down in southern United States where the medical bills are not cheap. So if you want to directly contribute to him, the link is there. Otherwise, donate.domainweek.com. It's all going to be divided up by that. So that's the charity portion. Again, if there's anything else, just get in touch with me. I'm sure to set up shortly a email at DomainPodcast.com, but I'm probably leave info@thedomainsocial.com open for a while. So if there's any questions you have about this week, about the previous year, about where things are going in the future, if you want, I'm not sure if I should say this, but if you want advice on a domain name, well, I might be open up a door there, but just reach out. And if there's something cool about this week you appreciate it, let me know. It means a lot to me to know that somebody's been helped by this. And as I've said before as well, anybody else whose platform you're attending or being a part of or whatever it is, domainer or otherwise, if you take pleasure or you've gotten enhanced knowledge because of something somebody created, like a Zoom session or a book or a web page or a Clubhouse room or whatever it is, reach out to them, thank them, just say thanks. And when they try and share stuff, retweet, go to LinkedIn, reshare wherever they do. These are little things you can do to really, really help out. When they reach out and say, I have a special panelist coming, reach out, send questions. I didn't want to single anybody out, but Chuck, thank you for that this week. That really having your questions there this week, when I was planning, producing, hosting, interviewing, and putting out fires, whatever it is at the same time. I'm sorry I didn't get to answer every question, but rest assured that when you send me those questions, they help. Knowing that I have some things to fall back on when I'm trying to respond to somebody who can't make the link, when I'm trying to look at the person I'm interviewing in the eye, it's like it really helps. So all those things, just reach out to people who are making things, creating things, and thank them and help them. Again, it doesn't have to be money. It could be just whatever energy you can give to them. I'm going through my list of stuff. I think I'm getting towards the end. Yeah, so links going forward, DomainPodcast.com. Anything I do in the future will likely be there. I might at some point resurrect NameCult.com. Maybe not. List of auctions. If you guys are watching this 2 years in the future, maybe I'll be doing that again. I don't know. Figure that's another way you might get back in touch with me. Going through this, the charity stuff. I've mentioned everything. How to access. Told you how to subscribe. Go to Domain Podcast Domain Podcast or thedomainsocial.com. Subscribe. Anything I do in the future will be there. As I said, upcoming NamesCon after party, September 24th, an ICA fundraiser at some point, auction, Halloween party, the holiday auction. Probably invite people over Montreal early summer 2022. Pandemic permitting. And if we're just a small group, we hang out, and if we're a larger group, I'll get some speakers, whatever it is. It's as I've learned this past 3 weeks, when it went from nothing to what it is now, it's we can scale, and this time I'll be asking for your help. So, I think that's it. Jonathan, did I leave anything out? Oh, the YouTube. So anybody who's not watching through YouTube, which I don't know how that would be, but maybe there's other forms. I might cut this up into a podcast audio format. If you want to watch the videos from this week or from the previous socials that were recorded, or some of the domain panels that I referenced, go to live.domainerweek.com, and it goes to the YouTube channel. And all that stuff is all there right now. And anything I do in the future will be on the same channel. I renamed the channel on YouTube Domain Podcast. So, search for that if you want to, or there'll be links there. So on that note, I think I covered everything. Where's my rambling? Because I don't want this to all end. It's been so much fun this last year and a bit. Yeah, we've done that. Support others, yes. Yeah. Help, retweet, podcast. Yeah, and if you have any questions about this week or any feedback, this was as I said 3 weeks ago, this was literally almost not going to happen, and it kind of exploded. So if you have any feedback, suggestions, or if by some crazy, ridiculous, insane reason I try to do this again, if you want to participate, message me now. info@thedomainsocial.com. Message me now, so that way I don't have all the crazy email last minute emails bouncing around like I did this time. And I'd love to have everybody on. So, and for those of you watching the other corners of the world, again, this is all last minute. I'm sorry I didn't have something at different hours and whatever it was. It just happened to grow this way. And those of you who, like to see a little bit more diversity on these screens, I know this industry that's very male orientated. I reached out to a lot of members of the opposite sex that get on. Some people are a little bit shy, but please do reach out. I do want to show the interest of different variety of people, and of different people in different corners of the world, different cultures. The internet is this growing thing, and every corner of the world is going to need a domain at some point to get on and share their stuff. So enough rambling. Jonathan, is Jonathan still there? Did I put him to sleep? Jonathan, any final words at all? I really want to thank you for everything. None of this would have been here what it is right now if it wasn't for you.
And final words. I mean, I love you all. Thank you for keeping me, healthy and vibrant during this, and giving me a purpose on Fridays and a good kickoff to the weekend. And I hope this isn't the end of everything. I look forward to seeing you in person when the world comes upside down at different events like NamesCon or Merge or other stuff that might pop up. And hopefully on some deep dive sessions, we'll get a chance to go in as RF evolves the podcast, the Domain Podcast. Maybe we'll get some good technical sessions and things. But it's been just a delight and privilege to be around you every week. Looking forward to seeing you all, hearing you all. And I'm going to miss this. I'm trying not to get all choked up.
Yeah,
I am really going to miss this. Got to figure out what I'm going to do with my Friday afternoons. I may have to do chores.
You might actually have to spend some time with your
Darn
wife.
It. No, I love that. I always love time with my wife. But it's I can disappear into my office for a little while because I'm on a Zoom call. Now I'm going to have to do chores and stuff. I mean, come on. Yeah. Oh crap! Is this on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Now I'm busted.
Yeah. So I guess that probably brings me to my final message to those of you watching on YouTube who are not yet part of this community, come on. It's a beautiful thing. Tons of great friends. So, all right. On that note, bye.